Welcome back, everyone. It's a real pleasure to have you here with us today out of the Tech Quartier live stream studio to our interim pitch of the mission. On behalf of the mission and the Futury the initiators of the mission and Futury and all our corporate partners, I would like to welcome you to our exciting day today. 5 weeks ago, we have started with our kickoff here also in the Tech Quartier, where you got to know the teams and learned a little bit about their first ideas, problem statements, and potential solutions. 5 weeks passed since then, and so now you can be extremely excited on what the teams have been working on and what the first results are. We want to keep this today quite short, and we really would like to focus on the teams. So the agenda will be quite straightforward. I will do a short recap of what happened in the last weeks, and then we directly move in and straight into our teams and the teams' pitches. So we start off with our team Pacelo, followed by team Neways, afterwards Connectra. We do a short break of 15 minutes in between, then followed on by another 2 pitches from Greenlight and also then Goldfinch. And at the end, we're going to have a short conversation and interview with Seat and Bain and talking about the collaboration and the last weeks, how it went with the teams. A short outro at the end, so we're ending our live stream then 1:45. So, as promised, I'll keep it short, but just quickly, we have a look at our timeline and the roadmap. So this is where we are today. In German, I would say we're having our Bergfest today. So we're halfway through 5 weeks or 6 weeks since we started in February. We have a few more weeks to go until May. So the teams will follow on with their ideas, their solutions, do some prototyping, look into a business case, and then we also look into potential follow-on planning, so what can happen after the mission, so that we have our final pitch then 11th of May and hopefully potentially then at Seat on site in Darmstadt-Weiterstadt. Okay, as pictures show more than words, just a few highlights of our last weeks. So we started with our onboarding and kickoff, so you still might recall, as mentioning our teams when they started, there was lots of work, lot of ideation, and we also looked into our values. We had a great value workshop where we also defined our code of values and how we're going to work during the weeks. So our values were trust, sustainability, courage, and open-mindedness. In week 3 and 4, the main focus was on user research. So there were a few sessions on how to do user research, how to define your user research group, the target group, and how you're going to do interviews, how you're going to structure your survey. So that's also what you will find out and see today, the results of the user research the teams did. Oops, went too quickly. And lastly, in the last 2 weeks, the focus was on sustainable innovation. So the teams had workshops on how they can integrate sustainability into their ideas, and also clear focus on Instagram takeovers. Even today, it's still happening at the same time. So these are the key highlights of the last 6 weeks. Now over, as promised, very short, we'll start off with the teams. Just a few introductions on how that works, so that everybody is aware. So let's meet our amazing teams. You see some of them already ready for Easter and Easter egg searching. Some others are extremely excited, jumping in the air already. So I think today will be lots of energy and excitement. But how does it work? The order of the teams, as mentioned, we have team Pacelo first, then Neways, Connectra, Greenlight, and Goldfinch. And the teams have time, 20 minutes, to pitch their idea, not only the idea, tell a little bit more about the solution, how they envision maybe also their business case, how potentially a first prototype might look like. And then afterwards, we have 10 minutes feedback. The feedback is assigned, so for each team, we have 2 or 3 feedback givers. So it will be a structured feedback. However, as you know already, the teams will reach out to you afterwards, or did already, and will take some time with you to look further into your feedbacks. All right, and here we go. We're starting off with our first team, originally called Nano Transport Vehicle, which is now Team Pacelo. Team Pacelo, who is creating an add-on to an e-scooter, add-on solution to an e-scooter. I'm not going to tell you more about this, and you know a little bit already. So I'm very happy and glad to hand over to our first team member, who is Teresa. So over to Teresa and the Pacelo team. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Vanessa. And hello, everyone. Good morning. Warm welcome from Team Pacelo. We are super excited to kick off with the first pitch of the day and really looking forward to show you what we've been working on the past 6 weeks so you can really follow along the progress that we've been making since the kickoff pitch. So my name is Teresa, and together with my teammates Lucas, Maxime and Max, we form Team Pacelo. And we want to drive sustainable change within the micromobility sector. For this, we actually came up with a quite simple idea. We want to develop an add-on transportation component for the e-scooter, so you can transport baggage on it. But before I tell you more about that, let's quickly have a look at our agenda, so you know what you can expect from us today. So first, we would like to show you some of our user research that we've conducted, so you really can understand the problem we're trying to solve. Then we'll of course show you the solution that we're working on. Also very exciting, show you some of our prototypes, so really stay tuned for that section. Then quickly touch on some business aspects and then wrap it up with a roadmap and showing you the next steps until the final pitch. And for the first agenda point, I would already like to hand over to my teammate Lucas, who's going to tell you more about the user research.
Thank you. So you probably remember this guy from our kickoff presentation. And we came up with the problem that there are very limited baggage capacities for conventional e-scooters. But now we really wanted to find out where the actual struggles are. So that's why we started with user research, and also our focus was to get a really user-centered approach. Therefore, we went out on the streets and did observations. So we went out in front of supermarkets, public transport stations, or shopping streets, and took notes on what they were carrying, the people, what mode of transport they were using, and also where the actual struggles were. So we observed more than 200 people, and from these 200 people, there were actually 3 use cases that particularly stood out, and we want to show with 3 personas now. So the first persona is buy too much Bernd. You can see him here, and he clearly bought way too much than he actually planned to in the beginning. And that was also what we saw from the observations, that 50% struggled with the amount of bags that they had. The second persona is always on the go Gina. So here you can see her studying in the library, and she suddenly gets a message from a friend, hey, do you want to go to the park afterwards and bring some drinks? So with the baggage that she has here, and also bringing the drinks, this is a spontaneous change in her planning her day. Also for the observation, 69% of the people struggled with the baggage while running errands in the city. And then there was one use case that we actually didn't plan or thought of starting with the observation. And this is a situation like call a taxi Tom. He arrives at a central station and now he wants to do the last mile. But especially with the additional baggage, a situation like a business trip where you also have time pressure is a real struggle. So these situations might seem very different now, but what do they actually all have in common? So of course they carry baggage, then they have a way from A to B, and also they would prefer individual mobility instead of getting into crowded places. Our solution is to design an add-on transportation component that you can attach to the e-scooter and enable therefore carrying baggage. The reason why we focus on e-scooters is that they are very easy to handle in crowded or let's say very urban places. The flexible parking is an advantage, and they are much more affordable if you compare it to bulky cargo bikes. When you look at the personas and the benefits for the user, for example, Gina in her spontaneously planning her day, it could be a real advantage to flexibly go from A to B. And therefore, carrying becomes very comfortable and fun. To sum it up, our value propositions are that we increase the safety and the comfort of current rides, but also we create new use cases where people right now would take a car maybe, but we make it possible to switch to an e-scooter and have a more sustainable way. And now I would like to hand over to Teresa again and show you how we make this happen.
Yes, thank you, Lucas. I'm really excited to take over here again and show you the prototypes that we've been working on. But actually, before we take a look at exciting pictures, I would quickly like to talk about the functional requirements that we wanted to test with our physical prototypes. So you might remember these 4 features that we presented to you in the kickoff pitch. This is what we wanted our physical prototype to be capable of. So first, we wanted to be attachable to different types of scooters. Then also, we wanted to be space efficient in design, so it is not in the way when it's not used. Also, we need a transformable handling, so you can actually unfold the component when you need it. And then also, of course, it needs to fit various shapes and baggage. And these 4 features, we actually wanted to test with our physical prototype. But before we got started with that, we of course also listened to feedback, and actually the feedback of you, the corporate partners. So when we were talking to you after the kickoff pitch, many of you raised concerns about the weight. So what actually happens to the e-scooter when you attach a lot of weight in front of the e-scooter? Will it fall over? What about the balance as well? Will it affect the driving experience? So we thought that are very valid points, so we also added them to the list of our functional requirements. And with this list in mind, we actually started our first prototyping sessions. So let's have a look here. So our first physical prototype was actually a quite rough one, we admit. It was built out of wooden sticks, and you can also see on the first picture with some tape. But actually this already worked for us to test the balance. And also we tested weight with it. As you can see in the second picture, we loaded a heavy rock on it. And then in the end, we actually tested the driving experience. Here you can see Lucas cruising around with it. And after the first prototyping session, we were actually really happy to see that the driving experience isn't really affected when you put weight in front of the scooter. So after that, we advanced to a second prototype. Here we really focused on the space-efficient design and the transformability. So as you can see in the first 2 pictures, we can actually fold the component up and down. And in the second picture, you can also see it when it's down. There we added a really strong click mechanism, so it actually holds when it's in that position. And then with that prototype, we also really played around with the attachment to the e-scooter. So in the third picture, you can see that we didn't attach the component at the upper part of the white part of the pole, but actually at the very bottom, just here, just above the wheels. And this really added stability to it because this is the only part of the pole that is non-movable. So if we attach it there to any type of scooter, it will actually hold very stable. And then lastly, our third physical prototype. Here we really advanced in terms of material. We had a fun trip to the construction store and bought some half materials, where we could then build a prototype made out of solid structure. And we could also test the transformability because we added some hinges in the middle, so you can really transform the thing. And as we were quite happy that it's such a strong and solid structure, we also added various baggage to it to test if it fits various sizes and also weights. And here in the third picture, you can see how we actually loaded everything we tried at once. So here we have the parcel, the grocery bag, and also the bag featured by Futury. And we attached it with a strap to it. And then we, of course, tested the driving experience again. And here we really would like to show you a video so you can actually see it in action. So here you can see Max with the third prototype cruising just in front of Tech Quartier, Frankfurt City. And he's loaded with the 3 bags I just showed you and the component. And he's going really smooth and easy. And yeah, we were quite excited about that. So that's about the physical prototyping we've done so far. So we were really happy to see that we could tick all these boxes I've mentioned before. And from a hardware perspective, from our side, we don't see any issues in making this product or making it to live. But of course, we know that these requirements are not sufficient to make a minimal viable product. So we actually advanced our prototyping and went digital with it. So we started with some CAD modeling to really focus on some more important product development features. So we worked on the technical structure, also take a closer look at the transformable mechanism it needs to have. We also worked on the design and ergonomics. And then it's also really important to us to produce a sustainable product. So we also started talking about the repairability and this recyclability of the product. And of course, we also need to make it compliant with the regulations. So it will actually get road approval in the end. For Germany, that will be then the Elektrokleinstfahrzeugverordnung that it needs to be compliant with. So enough talking now. Let's have a quick look at the digital prototyping we've been doing. So here you see actually a first draft of it in a closed state. As you can see, it is very space efficient and robust. So it's also well protected against damage and vandalism. And then you can actually unfold it. And as you can see, we were planning on having kind of like a net in between of the component, so it can really fit various sizes and shapes of baggage. Then it's a really strong mechanism, so we plan on being able to put a lot of baggage on it. And also you see the handle on top, that actually adds stability to the frame. And here we can also attach some straps to really secure the baggage to the product. And one more, here we see a use case that we thought of. This is a box of beer. We all know how heavy it is to carry. So great idea to put it actually on the e-scooter. And yeah, we believe that our component will be strong enough to carry at least the weight of one box of beer and also the size of actually 2 boxes. But yeah, enough about the product now. Another important issue that we talked about is how we can actually put this product into the market. So on business terms, we talked about different potential market entry points. For now, we want to target B2B. And here we see different options for us. The 3 of them that we listed here are of course not mutually exclusive. So number 1, we can look at the shared e-scooter market. And here we really see the shared e-scooter operators who could then incorporate our product on their shared vehicles. Number 2, we have the private e-scooter market. And here we could really target the e-scooter wholesalers and dealerships, and so they can incorporate our products on their scooters. And number 3, we really see a huge trend in the service delivery market, meaning last mile delivery, and especially food and grocery delivery companies. So actually when you also look on the street, there's a lot of delivery guys out there delivering food and grocery. So we believe that once the e-scooter has the transportation component, it can be really a viable and attractive vehicle for these kind of transportation journeys. But these are just things that we started to explore now. So in the next couple of weeks, we're definitely going to explore further and try to evaluate the business potential of these different entry points. And talking about the next couple of weeks, now I would like to hand over to Lucas, so he can tell you more about what we planned for the next couple of weeks.
We have split up our roadmap into 3 different parts. The first one is research, so we have already started with reaching out to strategy and operations departments, but also it will be really important to us to talk to many, so let's say, product development departments to get insights there. For the product development, we are in the middle of the digital prototyping, and with this data, we can build a 3D model which will be quite close to what we want to achieve and test it with the users. So in the end, let's say for the final pitch, we want to come up with a minimal viable product. For the business development, we are exploring the ways how to enter potential markets, and for the final pitch, come up with a business model. And then there's one part that's specifically crucial for us, because we are building a hardware product. So we really have to look for legal options to protect our product and make sure it doesn't get copied. And there's actually also where we really address to you where we can need your help and yeah, it would be cool if we stay in contact there about that topic. So I'm really happy that we've also grown a lot as a team since the project started. Yeah, we could all bring in our thanks, and let's start with Teresa. She's our project and communication manager and has the role of a strategic thinker. Let's go on with Maxime, our technical business developer, and we really appreciate him for his analytical thinking. Max is a product designer we can be really happy to have because he's so hands-on with all the physical prototyping. And me, as a design and sustainability expert, I'm the creative challenger. Yeah, thanks for listening, and now we're actually really happy to get in touch with you and yeah, get the conversation with the team and you started. So we're really excited to have you as a feedback givers, Giuseppe from Seat, Stefan from To Go, and Niels from Harley Davidson. I think, yeah, let's get started. Yeah, be happy if Giuseppe, you would like to start. I think you're on mute, Giuseppe. Are you? Sorry, let's wait some more seconds, I think, for us. Is it?
Yeah, sorry, Giuseppe. At the moment, we cannot hear you. Yeah, I think we're working in the background to get your sound on our ears. At the moment, it's still unfortunately not there. Sorry, Giuseppe.
Yeah, maybe we go on with Stefan, and then after Stefan, we go back to you. Okay. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, Stefan, here you are. Let's see if we can hear you. Ah, yeah, I think I heard some sound.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Very
perfect.
Yes, I would like to say, wow, good presentation. I'm at the beginning of the mission. I was a little bit I couldn't imagine that this really works. I was mainly concerned about the stability balancing stuff. I'm still not 100% sure if a filled beer box really fits to this driving experience. But I mean, you showed the video and it looked good. So I'm really impressed about your work. I like the presentation. I liked the structure you were showing. From the beginning of the mission, you seem to me as being very structured, very focused, very hands-on as well. So good job so far, and I'm curious about the next half of the mission and how market entry might really happen. So cheers from my side.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stefan. We really appreciate what you just said. And yeah, we're definitely going to work on the market entry points in the future.
One last question concerning the material and sustainability. Is this product in any way sustainable? Because you're mentioning 3D printing. How sustainable is the product itself? So this is one question which came to my mind and which you might answer.
Yeah, this is actually a topic we will definitely focus on in the upcoming weeks. But I think what it's like especially important that you can separate the each individual parts from each other. So let's say if one thing breaks, it's not like the whole product will not be like possible to use anymore, but you can take the specific thing and let's say if you talked about the 3D printed parts, they can get back to the specific recycling options. So it's not, let's say, metal and plastic glued together, so it's not possible to recycle it in the end. But yeah, you're right, we have to focus on that.
And for us, the sustainability in the entire solution actually, on the one side, comes from the sustainable product, but also from the sustainable solution approach overall, because we believe that we can really convince the people to change their behavior, because we enable them to have an option to the car, because they can put like small stuff on the e-scooter, and we want to avoid like the small city trips with the car, with the e-scooter. So we also not only see the sustainability within the product, but also in the change of behavior. And also, since we are targeting scooters that are already out there, we really see a value proposition in our product that it adds to something existing. So we just create more value for something that's already out there without producing more things.
Yeah.
So we really believe that that's the sustainable approach that's right for us.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Stefan, for the feedback. I think now, Giuseppe, the audio is working for you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
very good.
Perfect. So sorry for the problem, for the technical problem, and thank you for the presentation. As I mentioned at the last time we were talking, I think the most powerful thing is the simplicity of your idea, and I still like it. I like the way you approached it, because I think it's very important to start from a user centricity point of view and doing researches and trying really to understand what is the main need of the customers. I think 200 people are robust enough to have a good idea and to have a proof point of that. I also like the way you showed us or the single steps of the prototyping. So congratulations on that. Very clear. I was just wondering, coming back to the pain point, which is the weight. You showed some pictures with the strap. I don't think it's strong enough to have a solution with the straps. So I would like to have a comment from your side on that, because you are in the prototyping process. So I guess you have some more ideas how to handle this solution or this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, for the strap, for the prototyping, you just saw the expander we took.
Yeah.
So that was, of course, just for testing it. But actually, as you have seen in the digital prototype, we have the frame around the thing, and there we really play around with how we can, for example, insert different like holders that gonna have the bags attached to the component so they don't fall off. So definitely, this is not the final thing. We really know that we can't just place things there, and we are aware that they just move around. So we are working on things, how we can attach it with like still having the flexibility. That's why the strap is great, but of course adding some more strength, so also heavy weight stays on there.
So you're exploring this point in the next phase, right?
Yeah, exactly. So for now we have like the stable base of it, so you can plate things on, and then we really need to explore how we can, because we want to fit various sizes of it. So like it's gonna be hard to have like a fixed holder, so we need to have the flexibility, but explore things how we can make it more stable, definitely.
All right, thank you. The next question I have for you is, did you explore also the maximum weight you can hold on this component?
Yeah, actually, we don't have like a precise number of the maximum weight, but it was like we went in front of the TQ in the park and took the very heavy stone that you saw, so it was quite hard to carry, actually, about like 25 kilograms, maybe 30. And yeah, this worked for the stability and also the driving experience. So around that, round about 20.
The reason I'm asking is because, and this is, I think, one of the biggest hassles you are confronted with in the next phase is, as you mentioned, and especially in Germany, the regulations. So I guess there will be a lot of data and information you have to provide to get this regulation approval. I already forgot how it's named. Something like Verordnung.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Germany is full of Verordnung stuff, so I guess it will be a major hassle to come up with this. So I guess, or at least this is my point of view, you have to focus a little bit on getting all this data to achieve your goal of receiving this regulation approval. So my question is, how do you think, or how do you want to approach this issue? Because I really guess this is something. This is one of the hardest things to do for the next phase.
Yeah, actually, for the 3D printing, we're gonna test with the actually exact weight that we can do from the product perspective. And for the regulation, actually, there's no regulation how heavy a micro mobility vehicle can be. It's rather just about the capacity on the e-scooter, because it still needs to drive. So we started to look into that, but I think that's definitely gonna be the next step then, exploring the different market potential points. But yeah, Giuseppe, we're definitely happy also to talk more in detail with you after the session. For now, also looking at the time, I would maybe hand over to Niels. We're also excited to hear your perspective from Harley-Davidson. But thank you, Giuseppe, for now.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry. I hope you're still happy when when I finish. I don't want to be the fun police here, but first of all, I really liked your form of presentation, your methodology, how you went through the developing process. I mean, spot on. That was really well done and executed. However, have you ever heard of the company Movie?
Yes.
With double O and VI. Have you heard that they have patented such a solution?
Yeah. Actually,
so
go on with what you were trying to say.
No. It's that was my question, because I just literally did a short research, and I found out that they actually patented a solution. I found a picture which of the system they did, which is very similar. So how do you want to address this? Because you said you want to protect your idea, but now you learned that another company already has a patent on it.
Yeah, actually, that was actually one of the first things that also we came across when doing the research. Movie actually, I think, did a great job with their. They have a component for also e-scooters, but they have like a two-part component. So like they have one thing on the e-scooter, and then you can actually buy add-on things, so you can attach various things like boxes of beer.
Just clip in.
Yeah, exactly. And we also know that they say on their website that they have registered a patent, but at the moment there's no patent registered yet that you can find, meaning they are still in the process of doing it. So of course we need to find out what exactly they patent, but we believe that our component is different in terms of functionality. Like, of course it kind of addresses the same needs, but it is still different of how we design it. Maybe that's not super clear with the physical prototype, but we're going to make sure to really point that out with the digital prototypes. So they can patent their functionality, but we can still patent ours. And then we might have some similarities in terms of user group, but we really believe that we are different, and they also target a different user group and market.
Yeah, that's why I raised this, because you have to be very careful of this. In my last function, I worked at many automotive companies as well. So usually they patent the use case of carrying on the front, blah, blah, blah. So this might be a deal breaker. So that's why I said I don't want to be the fun police. But I think also when you develop new product, this is a really important thing nowadays. Some companies around the world may patent an idea. They even haven't gone through the prototyping yet. They just had the idea, but they patented it. So before investing a lot of money and resources, you need to double check that you're not stepping into a trap here. So that's my point. Another point, I looked at your solution and I looked at because your first business idea is to go to the B2B, which I think is fine because you can sell a great volume of your product, so economy of scales would work. So you make one deal, maybe earn a little bit less money, but you get your product out there, you get your product known. This is correct. However, then I looked at the top 3 players. So you showed your product at one of the e-scooters that you can rent. Have you seen the design of other scooters? Because from the close-up pictures I saw there might be issues attaching your form of attachment to those e-scooters as well. So I don't have the solution, but the question is, you should at least look at the biggest B2B offerer like Tier, Lime, etc., and have you checked that your product you're developing will also fit those scooters as well, because that's the problem. The scooter market is fragmented. The design of the scooters is fragmented. It's not like easy, for example, the Anhängerkupplung of a car. So that's a norm. So if you have a carrying solution for Anhängerkupplung, that will work with every manufacturer. It's a little bit different with those on the e-scooter market.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Like, we have measured the diameters outside for the prototyping session. We wanted to also include that in our mechanisms to allow it for different diameters to fit.
Yeah, because some, with the turning points, they're designed differently, or they don't even have a diameter because they have not round poles, but they're a little bit angled. So I think this is the next step probably if you want to move on, to check the biggest players, and if your product, how do you need to design your product that it fits also those players. So you're not ruling already some B2B customers out at the beginning.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, sorry, I thought I wanted to give, but overall the idea, and I think you're great minds. Your presentation skills are very well. So the storytelling was very good. The pitch was very good. I think just those pesky legal points and design points can be a deal breaker and need to be looked into.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Thank you so much. We're happy to get back to the 3 of you. So thanks for sharing some feedback now. We're happy to follow up on the discussion. I think now we're already giving back to Vanessa because we also have some more teams coming up. But we're happy to talk to you and see you soon.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, fantastic. Wow, I have to say I'm extremely excited and flashed. I think this was an amazing start. Of course, it's always easier to see like a product where everybody can relate to. But well done to the team. So like super well also organized, answered the presentation. I have to say I'm quite proud of all of them, but specifically when you're the first to start off with, it's always more tricky. And thank you also to our feedback givers. That shows again how important it is to also have like partners that really are into the topic, come from the industry and have some broad and good knowledge to feedback. So thank you very much for spending the time. All right, so now we are with our next team, Team Neways, originally called Multimodal Mobility. And what the team have been working on is like a mobility as a service add-on, and more to come. And I think Benjamin will be the next to tell you a little bit about their idea of Neways. So over to Benjamin.
Thank you, Vanessa. So hello, everyone. So as Vanessa just mentioned, we are Team Neways, and we've been focused on multimodal mobility, and we've been specifically focused on how people travel, but also why they travel. And this was really important for us now to set up ourselves as a solution provider to give a purpose to mobility. So for today, I'm going to present to you the situation of Neways, what we have been up to, what is happening. I'm going to talk about your problem too. We will touch upon our solution, and we will have a first glimpse to our prototype. We will also go through our user personas and our end user journey. We will see how we can fit with Neways into the market. We will also see what are the next steps for us. So our roadmap, and I will remember you a bit of who is in the team to lead this project. So let's start with the situation. Actually, a lot happened in these past 6 weeks. For us, a lot of research, but also a lot of workshops, also a lot of one-to-one sessions with corporate partners, and we gained a lot, we learned a lot, and here are some insights. We started by identifying a lot of trends in mobility. Most obvious one was multimodality, which we started with the name of our project. But we had a look at of how they are interacting, how they are developed within the cities. We also looked at mobility as a service that is becoming on demand, because like increasingly all the services are required by the users to be available on demand, and mobility is no exception. We also had a look at how the mobility is interacting online, because most of the solutions are now happening through digital solution, online solution apps. So we studied a bit how it was transitioning from something that is supposed to be very physical at something developed into the tech world, I would say. And also we identified one very interesting trend from owning to sharing, and something that is especially highlighted for the post-pandemic world by the studies, that people are less likely to own a car in the future, but more likely to share. And actually, if we take all of these trends, they are all referring to one buzzword, I will say, but at the same time, it sounds like all together they form the buzzword. So let's have a look. This is mobility as a service, also known as MaaS. So this is actually a type of service that through a joint digital channel enables users to plan, book, and pay for multiple types of mobility services. And actually, it has been like kind of tough to look around, because people are using it everywhere for different purpose, for different meanings. That's why it was very important, first of all, for us to be set on what was our field, I would say. So now we understand better what's happening. So we conducted preliminary user research. It was intentionally a bit broad, because we wanted to understand with the users and how they react with this mobility trend. And we conducted interviews, especially in Frankfurt, with a randomized sample. And we learned that people are looking for comfortable ways of planning, and also they are looking ideally for one app for paying and ticketing. So in the end, sounds like users are ready for MaaS, mobility as a service, and also that their needs are fitting with the development of the future of mobility. So it was kind of reassuring for us also to learn that people are ready to take on the new challenges and try mobility as a service. With all that happened, we came up with something very important for us, which is a vision for multimodal mobility, a vision for our project, a vision for what we want to achieve. And it stands as that we are committed to make mobility within cities and communities being inclusive, safe, resilient, and most important, sustainable. Which is something very important for us. Through this vision, we hope that it will guide us in implementing our solution, maybe our company, but most important, which will guide us in our impact that we want to have. From this vision, we came up with a mission statement, which is that we want to bring solutions for mobility as a service providers to increase the number of users of multimodal means of transportation. actually this mission is a bit broad, and actually it was really important for us to take a step back, having a look at the program and what we were doing, to really like ask ourselves, okay, we have now a common vision within our team and what we want to do, but now what is our mission, and what do we want to achieve maybe during the program, but also maybe on the longer term. So now that we have a mission statement, we break it into a problem and the first solution. So I'm handing over to Gerard to present those to you.
Okay, thank you, Ben. So in order to achieve our mission, we define our problem statement as how might we integrate on-demand site services for mobility as a service providers in order to increase the number of users of multimodal means of transportation. And what do we mean by on-demand site services? Well, we mean all those services that are not directly related to mobility, but are linked to the purpose of mobility. So in order to solve this problem, we came up with our solution, which is already targeting one sector of these site services, which is a mobility as a service app add-on that gives you cultural background on your route stops and offers you to purchase discounted tickets for cultural experiences nearby. So as you can see, we already focused on one sector, which is the cultural sector, because we think that this pandemic situation has really affected it, and also because we think there are a lot of opportunities that we could take on. So to make it more visually, you can see that we can plug our solution into the mobility as a service providers, but we don't want to stop here, because we think that there are a lot of opportunities, like for example, food and beverages, which might mean that you could book your favorite restaurant a table while you are on your way of the S-Bahn, or maybe that you could collect your groceries, buying your groceries through the RMV app, for example, while you're on your way out of the station. But we don't want to stop here, because we see an endless opportunities that we could take on in the future. So if we take a look in the actual app of RMV, which it's our local solution and we are like used to it, you can see that they have a map showing all the services that they can offer, and also they have a settings for the map which you can add layers or disable layers in top of it. So this is where our add-on comes in, which is a solution tailored to the RMV app, which would add a new layer called culture, and you could see different points in the map which point out different cultural experiences that you could take. So before explaining more in detail how this works, let me introduce you to Nicole. Nicole, she's a girl from Frankfurt. Well, she's from Portugal, and she came to Frankfurt for 1 week, and she's an adventure seeker. She would describe herself also as outgoing and curious, and between her goals is that she wants to make out the most of her time while traveling around the city. She also wants to find cheap itineraries around the city and wants to visit places that embody the area. In her frustrations, she doesn't want to miss the must-sees in a new city, and she usually felt overwhelmed by the possible choices in different platforms. On the other hand, we have Noah, which is a Frankfurt citizen, and he would describe himself as a culture lover, eco-friendly, and he's also a user of the RMV app. In his goals, he wants to make plans on the go. He also wants to be updated of what's going on around the city, and also see famous artworks in person. In his frustrations, he doesn't like to wait in lines, he doesn't like to walk long distances either, and he dislikes using several apps for just one purpose. So if we take the example of Noah, Noah just heard that the RMV app just launched a new feature that you can find cultural experiences. So he would go to the RMV app, he would see this new layer called culture, and when he activates it, he would see that there are new spots on the map that he could tap on it, and he ends up choosing the Museum of Applied Arts. And here you can see where he can buy the tickets through the app, and also he can buy them with a 10% discount. And in the same app, he also can get directions to get to it. So he starts the journey, and while he's on his way, and planning his route, he sees a new icon on the route, on the Habenhof station, which when he clicks on it, he can see cultural background of the station and what's the history around it. So in the end, as you can see, the advantages that our add-on brings to the table is that we save time and money for Noah because he could buy the tickets with a 10% discount. It was also convenient for him because he didn't have to leave the app in any time. He was using the app all the way until the office of the museum. And also, our add-on it's incentivizing the use of the RMV app. And now, my colleague Ben is going to tell you where we fit in this market.
Yeah, so I'm back again to talk to you about mobility as a service again, but this time as a market. As you might know, as I referred, this is kind of like a huge trend. I even called it like kind of a buzzword. And actually, studies are really fond of trying to find forecasts for this market. And what is sure is that at the moment it represents 4.7 billion US dollars, and is expected to grow in 10 years up to 70 billion US dollars. If these numbers can seem a bit like large, I would say, or not very connected, let me tell you that actually 35.5% of this market is actually happening in Europe. This is the case because in Europe we're one of the early adopters of mobility as a service, and we see a lot of mass solutions being developed. If we look at the mobility as a service players in Germany, we have listed some of them. The first one are kind of the local ones, where you can see RMV, so for Frankfurt, MVGO for Munich, and JLB for Berlin. Actually, you might be surprised to see RMV because as you might know the app at the moment of RMV, it does not really apply to the definition of mobility as a service that I gave you in the beginning. However, RMV is about to release a new update to their services and to their app, which will completely make them enter the world of mobility as a service. And those mobility as a service solutions are local ones. What we believe in with Neways is that the future of mobility will be local. And also, as you remember, we are focusing on on-demand side services to mobility, and those services are by definition local ones. That's why we believe that our main target, I will say, our main players that we will work with will be the local one. But we are also aware that there are national players, for example, Trafi or Kixit. If we take the example of Trafi, this is the company operating MVGO and JLB, for example. So we know that at the national scale, they are kind of grouping companies, I would say, for mobility as a service. But there are also, for example, Citymapper and Google Maps, who are like kind of bigger, but are also implementing mobility as a service solution where our add-on could fit in. If we then look at mobility and culture and where they are already interacting together, if we keep the example of Frankfurt, we then have solutions already available. There are like the Frankfurt card. Actually, you can pay for a card to have access to the RMV network for 24 hours or 48 hours, and you get tickets or discounts for cultural experiences over the city. You also have the e-ticket Rhein-Main, where you can actually store your tickets. If you take only one individual ticket, or if you take a away ticket, you can keep your e-ticket and basically use it as a wallet, I would say, and enables you to move smoothly around the city. But you also have the Smile bonus program of RMV, where actually the more you use the app, the more you will gain points, and the more you have points, the more you can convert them. And one possibility is to convert them for tickets for cultural experiences, for example. So we see that actually these are two worlds of services that are already interacting, where synergies is already happening. However, at the moment, none of those solutions are happening online. There is not one place where you can combine all of this. So knowing that there are like these synergies and knowing the further development of mobility, which is becoming a service, we definitely see that there is a synergy here that we want to delve deeper in. When we talk about cultural experiences, also it's important for us to define a bit more. We are talking about, for example, zoos. We're talking about museums, art galleries within the city. We also talk about opera, theater, and also, why not, cinemas. And actually, this can be pretty broad. At the moment, on the past solution that I just presented you, the Frankfurt card, for example, there is always a wide range, I will say, of cultural experiences. What we know about those cultural experiences, it's also that they are most of the time organized together in consortium or like kind of included together through programs with the tourism office of the city, for example, which will make us easier to have access to a large pool of cultural experiences at the same place. And those cultural experiences are also sometimes have a lot of interaction with the public authorities, public world, which might be an entry door for us. Going forward and looking at the next step for Neways, we need to define the base of our product. We really want to have a better prototype, I would say, or at least like have a better definition of the features and the different aspects of the solution. We also want to co-develop tailored solutions. This is very important for us to work hand in hand with mobility as a service providers to understand where we can fit, also where we can incentivize their service, but also because they are the one knowing their users. So it's really important for us to do this in co-development with them. And also we have to develop a sustainable business model as we really want to have an impact, as I told you, but we also hope to have a long-term program to put in place our mission and bring solutions. If we now put all of this a bit in a roadmap, we are today at the interim pitch, and in the following weeks we will synthesize feedback, go through the user survey and testing. We will also work on our business model and then kind of refine all of this and define revenue streams for our final pitch, where we will be able to present you our prototype, final one, hopefully, or kind of final one, and we will present you final ID. And then we will prepare what is happening after the mission. And especially we are expecting to secure initial funding and be able to launch our add-on. To remind you a bit of the team, in the team we have Marie-Louise, our product manager. She comes from Stuttgart and she studied economy and sociology at University of Mannheim. We have Gerard, you just saw him, he's the product designer of the team. He comes from Barcelona and he studied UX UI designer. And myself, I am Ben, I am the project manager of the team. I come from France and I studied environmental technology in the past. So as you remember, we are a team of 3 different people. We come from 3 different cultural backgrounds. We have 3 different expertise, but we have the same vision for the future, that we are committed to making mobility within cities and communities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So thank you very much. Actually, all that we presented today and that happened in the past week is thanks to the program at Futury, but also thanks to the workshop and interaction we had with the corporate partners. So thank you very much for your help and support. We can't wait now to hear about your feedbacks. So we're going to welcome Melanie from SEAT, we're going to welcome Julian from RMV, and also Wolfgang from München. Hello. Okay, so who wants to go first? they're a volunteer.
I can start.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Melanie.
Hi, so you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for your pitch. It was really great to see which progress you made during the last weeks, because I think we talked already, and I like that it's getting more and more structures and more and more structured, and that the idea is getting more precise. So this is really good. And I also think the interviews you made, I mean, it's the all-in-one solution is the most convenient for everyone. So I think that's a good point. But I have also some questions. So I think one thing which is good, because your vision, as you also said, is quite broad. So I think that it's good that you are focusing on the culture part and the culture sector. And as you had the example of RMV, so what is actually your go-to-market strategy for other providers? So is it applicable as a service for other providers as well in order to scale?
Yeah. As we told you, we are working on the add-on, and we have several ideas in mind, and we are trying to see how it can fit. But actually, the idea would be to be able to provide any mass providers with our add-on. And actually, we just thought starting with RMV is kind of natural for us, also because we are interacting already with RMV, also because they are in the process of launching a solution. So we might also be able to fit in while they are developing. But yeah, on the long term, I would say we have this idea to develop first to other providers and also to develop to other services, as Gerard explained.
Mm-hmm. But it will always be like the add-on.
Oh, okay, yeah. So actually, this is kind of the first step also we identified. So to add on other services related to mobility. But if you ask on really long term, I would say, or maybe more long term, depending on how much time it takes us to develop the add-on and to implement them within already mass solutions, we are also thinking of other solutions to help mass providers. One example could be mobility stations, where we can create hubs for having multimodal places within the city which are very tangible. But this is a bit more long-term, but still which can fit our vision and our mission. So we can definitely expand to something, other services than add-ons, which can be more tangible, I would say.
And one more question is also about maybe the cultural part. Where is your data coming from? So because every city has different options, and so I think, and it's really fragmented. So where is the data coming from?
Yeah, so actually we presented that there are some already existing solutions where culture is interacting with mobility, and this is true in most of the cities in Germany. So there are common patterns, I would say, and the way they are structured also, most of the time they are very structured within the city and public authorities, with tourism office, which are entry doors, and actually our data, we collect them through the actual projects already available to see the demand, see how users are using new services, I would say, or interacting with them. And it's true that we are focusing mainly now on Frankfurt, but we know that this is studies that we can conduct in other cities with the same process and framework.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So maybe now moving to Wolfgang?
Maybe I would continue. Thanks for the very good presentation. It was an impressive market analysis. So you analyzed the competitors somehow, and the potential solutions you can integrate your solution, your add-on. What is very important is the sharing and sustainability thing, and I think that this should be part of your mission as well, because your mission at the moment is very broad, and you should identify the unique selling points of your add-on. I think that would be very important, and for the further ongoing work, maybe you focus more, because I'm wondering what's the real benefits and what the needs are addressed with your solution. That's not that obvious as I've seen. Your personas, these two people or these two personas, this is a very good method to analyze the needs. Probably you should add someone normal, a daily business people using your app as some kind of assistant, or your add-on. That this comes out where it's very important to use your additional functionality beside the existing platforms. And one question is, have you some kind of minimal viable product already shown to people? So how your additional services can look like, or how they look like? That will be an important point to go in the further analysis and talk to people what your solution is.
Yeah. Thank you for all of this. These are things that we have in mind. And we are working on. We still have to define some points, and this is like the process, and we trust a bit like in all the different states we're going through. But actually also what is really important for us is that we are evolving in a complete new world, I would say, where actually there is something happening with mobility as a service, where we try to integrate all the various mobility services, but we already see a bit the future step, which are integrating other services, which means that at the moment there are no platform like mass mobility as a service platform already integrating other services. So we're kind of a bit a step ahead, which makes it a lot of challenges for us to really identify the need, because this is a bit a need that will be created through the use of mobility as a service platforms. But this is a need that we can still anticipate from today on. Regarding our product, regarding the add-on in itself, it also needs to apply to the different technologies of the various app we will add on our product. But maybe Gerard can tell you a bit more about how the technological side is can be developed in the next steps.
Yeah, totally. Depending on which provider we are tackling on, we will tailor a solution for them. So in this case, we took the RMV app because it's one of our corporate partners, and also because it's the local provider that we have here in Frankfurt, and we've been using it. And moreover, we will take your feedback about the personas into account into the next round of pitches. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Looking at the time, we have a short time for Julian, so please go. You, Julian. Yeah, perfect. Oh, no.
Not yet.
Not yet. Julian, can you hear us? Okay, what about now? We cannot hear you. Can you try to talk? Maybe once a bit more? But it sounds like we cannot hear you. Okay, well, very sorry.
Maybe you can try to reconnect.
Yeah.
Better now?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
I don't know what happened. So
No problem.
it was working before and then it suddenly stopped. But okay.
No problem.
So I like the shift in your vision from the mobility as a service platform more to like an access point to the city, and I think that's a nice addition because I think in the near future a mobility platform will be common in the most of the major cities. So the shift to the purpose why people move and how to engage with them in order to enhance the capacity usage is a nice addition. So for me, the solution is more thinking about a mobility platform as a key to a city or a key to a region where how people could engage with it. Then I have the same point as Wolfgang mentioned before. It's the incentive for commuters, because if you look at the most common customers for us, they are commuters, and what is the benefit, especially for them? So what you can do for them in order to add a component for them. And you said that mobility platforms currently do not integrate cultural stuff. I would like to encourage you to look in the Asian market. There's an app called Grab, which is more or less the Asian Uber, and we were developing from a ride-hailing app into a broader platform which can integrate lots of other stuff.
Yeah, thank you very much for the input. It's true, like Asian market is also a real inspiration for the future of mobility. Thank you very much for the feedback. I think we're running out a bit of time, but we hope we will be able to conduct user research in the weeks to come to also confirm what we present today and how we can maybe be more detailed. But we have to hand over to you, Vanessa, again. Thank you very much for all of you. We hope to follow up with you and see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wow, thank you, team. Thank you also to the feedback givers. Very, very good. Very exciting. Unfortunately, it's always like there's lots of feedback and input to give and we're running out of time. But the teams will follow up, and I'm sure you have sufficient then time frame and slots with them to discuss further. So thank you very much for the team and for the time. Okay. And this will be our last team before the break. So we have our team Connectra, originally called Community Charging Grid, which I think already says everything. So I'm not going to talk too much about the idea itself. And I'm straight away handing over to Georg from Connectra. Over to you, Georg.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. So welcome back to Connectra, the community grid. Today we want to go a step back and talk a little bit about where we came from, and I hope you all remember our first pitch like 4 weeks ago. Then we will dive into research and tell you a bit what we've actually done over the last month. We will also introduce our adapted concepts to you. So we took the conclusions out of the research and deducted new concepts. We will jointly validate those concepts with you, and finally we will give a small summary. We will talk about next steps, and last but not least, we are very happy looking forward to your feedback, and in our case it's Philip from Mainova and Björn from ChargeMaker. So where we came from, please picture again Ingo and Greta, who live in a small district town in Brandenburg called Prenzlau. They actually would both love to buy an electric car, but unfortunately there's no public charger where they live. So the only alternative they have is buying a private charger. In the case of Ingo, that's rather easy because he has sufficient space, but Greta over here lives in an apartment block, and thus she doesn't have the opportunity to install her own charger. So this is where we said Connectra comes into play and connect those two people. But how does it look like step by step? In the first step, Ingo will be supplied with a carefree solution. Connectra gives him the hardware and also sends him an electrician and takes care of the whole process. In the second step, Ingo can start sharing his wallbox by posting it on the Connectra app. All Greta has to do is downloading the app, register for a specific time slot on the app, taking her car, driving over to Ingo, and start charging there. Thus, Ingo makes some money, and Greta has the opportunity to access fair and transparent pricing schemes. And now we went into research. We looked into the e-mobility market. We defined our competitors in a first step and then analyzed them. We revisited Ingo and Greta, also nowadays Ingo and Greta, but also future Ingo and Greta. And then we deducted 3 major challenges we saw, and of course also possible solutions to those challenges. We used 5 different research strategies. Just to name a few, we went into ethnography, so we looked at online blogs, we conducted interviews, we actively took part in online discussions and also talked to users, and also we had the opportunity and the pleasure to talk to experts, both from our corporate partners but also from government bodies and other organizations. So last year actually was a great year for e-mobility, as you might have also seen in the news over the last weeks, because the number of e-cars on German roads doubled to 400,000. But having said that, one of the most important reasons for not buying an e-car was the lack of a sufficient charging infrastructure, as there's just one charger every 25 cars nowadays in Germany. And if we then take into account the fact that in 2030, 10 million e-cars are prognosticated on German roads, we see that this gap might even enlarge in the future. And today there's one charger every 20 kilometers on average on German roads. And taking into account that 2/3 of Germans would prefer charging their car either close to their home or even at their home, we can see there's also a huge convenience gap there, which might prevent people from buying electric cars in the future. Taking a closer look at our competitors, we actually see 2 major groups here. One of them is in the B2B market, and they are actually well-established companies who are taking care of other businesses and especially also about the backend, thus the IT infrastructure in the background, which is taking care about accounting, opening charges to other people and many more. But in the market where we are heading for, there's a few companies, but they are still in very early phases. So especially in the share a charger market, there's actually just one of them who is already offering its services to the public, while the others are still piloting and in a mock-up phase. Going back to Ingo and Greta, we could find out that actually today the Ingos that exist are early adopters that live, let's say, in a bubble. So they are really interested in e-mobility. They are fascinated by the opportunities this new green technology is providing us, but they are not really in touch with Gretas, because Gretas nowadays don't exist, because people who are not part of these early adopters don't even know about the opportunity to use e-cars, and they don't even know it's possible to also use other private chargers. But taking a look into the future, we can see that there's quite promising Ingos and Gretas out there, and actually the most important motivation for them to use a concept like ours is that it's hassle-free, both in terms of installation, but also the platform usage and also the connected services like payment for Greta. Both Ingos and Gretas indicated it's important for them to have specific time frames so that Ingo knows when I come home, my parking lot is empty, and also Greta can be confident that if she takes her car and goes over to Ingo, she doesn't have to wait and the charger is ready for her to get going. Talking about incentives, we could find out that obviously money is important to Ingo, but also community and environmental aspects were mentioned. And one insight, which we found quite interesting, is that Ingos actually indicated they don't need to own a charger, but they could also imagine other ways, like renting a charger and more innovative concepts than just owning it themselves. And now we're coming to the 3 major challenges we deducted from our research. One major challenge is actually the chicken-egg question. And we also defined 3 bottlenecks. And we also saw a few legal challenges out there. Chicken-egg, well, I mean, this is kind of obvious. Without Ingos, there's no Gretas, and also the other way around. As we've seen today, there are some Ingos out there, but they're not as many as Greta would know about them. And this supply and demand relation is also true, obviously, for the relation between number of e-cars and number of chargers. In the early days of e-mobility, there were too many chargers and too less cars, and now it's the other way around. Talking about bottlenecks, actually, there's 3 major bottlenecks. First one is the electricity grid. If it will stand a large number of high power chargers in the future. Second one is the lack of hardware nowadays, because if you want to buy a charger just now, you won't find any, neither at your local market nor on the internet. It's like the market is empty. And the third challenge is the number of electricians. And this is actually the most tough challenge in our opinion, because the number of electricians won't change in the future. There's 60,000 electricians in Germany nowadays, and it's hard to imagine that there will be many more in just a few years. And closing the challenges with legal aspects, we see that, as in our first concept, we imagined that Greta just stops her car on the road and takes the energy from Ingo over the garden fence. Well, actually, due to the German rights of way, this won't be possible. So Ingo needs to have his own private parking lot. And if we imagine Ingo wants to sell his electricity directly to Greta, there's also 2 major challenges, because he would need to register a business to do so, and he would also need to pay taxes on the revenue he gains by selling electricity. But as we are a young and motivated team, we told ourselves, well, challenge accepted, and let's not only talk about issues and problems, but let's move on to solutions. And this is where my amazing, beautiful colleague Lena comes into play.
Hello, also from my side, and thanks for that nice introduction. So actually, as Georg said, challenge accepted. So we want to master them, and now I'm going to explain you how we're going to do that, and also how we actually derived different concepts from those challenges. So starting here. So please imagine yourself, I want to start again with a small example. Actually, Georg already introduced you to the small city of Prenzlau, close to Berlin, and we have no public charger here. And you already know Ingo and Greta, which you can see here and here. But we also have another persona now. We named her actually Vera. And what is Connectra now doing from the start? Connectra actually tackles the chicken-egg problem by bringing together from the start the supply side and the demand side together in a community. And so this is also an important thing, what we can see here, that we install a charger as Connectra, and then in the next step, actually what we also learned from our insight is that those people actually really they really like to have a specific time frame where they can sign up and when they can charge their EV. So this is also what Connectra now offers as a platform. So we offer them to jointly invest actually in a charger, and then in a later step, reserve their specific time slot to charge their EV. Then let's see how this actually looked in practice. So we see Ingo charging his car, and at the same time, Greta takes her car and drives over, simultaneously charging with Ingo. And this is also a really important point we want to tackle, because Georg already mentioned that there is a lack of hardware and a lack of electricians. So by installing more powerful chargers, we also want to tackle that problem so that they can simultaneously charge here. In the further step, Ingo actually leaves to go to work, because also on the other hand, we see that Vera also has an appointment and she also wants to charge her car. So therefore actually also here both are charging together. what is now Connectra also tackling is the legal challenges that it takes over all the billing and the accounting for the users and for the community, which now operates together or shares a charger jointly. But what we came up with now is actually that we thought there might be other ways, or let's say it in a different way. There were insights from our research that we saw that ownership might not be everything. So it might not only be about buying a charger, but also in another way, it might be that we need to install more powerful chargers so that two people can charge at the same time, which also might come at higher expenses. So on the other hand, actually, we thought we can address that with two new concepts to let our community jointly invest in a charger. And therefore, we developed two concepts, the so-called smart concept and the rent concepts. So we're selling in a charger, or what means selling in? We're providing a charger, either on a fixed monthly subscription fee or on a free, let's say on a free base. But we're providing that charger in a bundle together with an electricity contract. In the left side, or in the rent case, we can see that we still want to charge competitive prices per kilowatt hour, but on the other hand, here we can say that we want to, let's say, refinance the charger by surcharging on every kilowatt hour price. So, having explained that to you, let's check that out a bit more in detail. So we actually, from our research, we gained some numbers and we calculated a first business draft. But it's quite important also to mention here that this is really a first rough draft. Still, please imagine yourself to be a charging station provider, and you sell in also bundles of electricity with it. So what we can see here is actually the typical model. So we see one user is buying a more expensive charger, and he's paying an average price of approximately 31 cents per kilowatt hour. And this is the profit you can expect during the first year. If we now compare that actually to our other two concepts, which I just explained to you, we can see, of course, that the first year, we are generating here loss, but because we are providing a charger and actually more focusing on a long-term profit in terms of usage by 3 users, definitely directly from the start, we can see that actually after 3 to 4 years, we are almost exceeding the amount of accumulated profit we would normally generate with our original concept. So, and having said that, we still need to validate the numbers a bit more in detail, and we also have to check in further future research also the acceptance from the user side. So to sum actually everything up, I want to point out 3 major points again. First, actually, we think that our concepts are quite good to retain customers. And this is not only from the side of Connectra, so that we say, hi, we are going to have customers who are loyal to us for 6 years because we sell in a bundle of an electricity contract to them. But it's also that we say that might also be profitable for our corporate partners or B2B partners we're going to work with, for example, energy providers. Another step is that we want to offer bundles, as I already explained to you. And especially when we think about the mass market, we also need to think that out there are people who maybe thought about e-mobility, but so far have no clue how to organize everything and how also like what kind of charges are out there. So it might also be like a really careful solution to just demand for a bundle and just like a complete hassle-free solution. And in the last step, we can also see that we really want to make charges affordable for the mass market. And that's actually also a really major point because as Georg already mentioned to you, we nowadays have 400,000 e-cars in German road, but it's forecasted that it's going to be 10 million e-cars. So we can definitely see that there's also a point to address the mass market by making charges more affordable. So I will keep myself short on that. We see we are now at the Interim Pitch presentation, and you see here like a major big block, which is named concept testing. Before that we want to develop a mock-up website where we can test our different concepts under real-life conditions. And therefore, we now really would value your feedback with regards to our different concepts, so that also we can integrate that feedback and to really test something we feel comfortable with under real-life conditions. Perfect. So actually, that was basically it from our side. Martin is joining remotely. I would ask also Georg to come to the stage again for the discussion. And here you can see myself. So thanks a lot for listening, and we are happy. Yeah, perfect. So we would open. Okay, sorry.
So welcome Philip from Minova and Björn from ChargeMaker, and we are very much looking forward to your thoughts and to your feedback on our new concepts.
Okay, Björn, I think I would like to start, huh? Can you hear us, guys?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for this great presentation, and thank you guys for some great developments here. I can see it now, where you're heading to. First of all, I think the best development throughout the last 2 weeks is really rent and smart contract, and visualizing that, and then having a money scheme to see how we can actually deal with that. Not buying a charger sounds very nice for me, and not having actually to own one and take care of all the administrative stuff and maintenance that comes behind it. Yes, so that is all the good part, and I can see your concept is getting more real. But as you know, there's also another side of the coin. I think you have said a lot about your challenges, and I feel you there, that the challenges are actually quite a mountain to climb up. So how are you going to deal with the issue that there are no charging stations at the moment? How does this actually interfere with your plans for the upcoming year? I mean, how would you like to solve this? How would you gain access to a market where you can actually buy chargers, install them, and get them to your customer, to Ingo and Greta? So that is something that I would like to know.
Actually, we are trusting the market economy here. Because, the lack of charging hardware is due to the subsidies by the German government or the KfW Bank. And industry experts told us those subsidies came quite surprising. And also the raise in subsidies was quite surprising. So this is why the market is empty. But as now the companies know that there will be a huge increase in demand, we trust that they will be able to produce sufficient amounts of chargers in the future. And also a very interesting aspect in our opinion here is that, because up to here we were talking about AC chargers, but for our concept actually we believe that also DC chargers might be even more interesting, so that the people don't have to wait as long when they're charging in the community of 4 or 5 people. And there will be like affordable DC chargers coming to the market the end of this year. So this is also quite important for us, and we are seeing big opportunities in this development there. Thank you.
Okay, I like that idea, but I think we talked about this as well already. DC chargers might come with another issue. I mean, you know, the grid stability can be an issue in the future. I actually discussing this today with one of my colleagues from the grid. However, this is something we would be able to deal with if we create that community that you guys are talking about. So I'm 100% confident that this might be a possibility. Last question, and then I hand over to Björn. Electricians, is there already a solution or a way in your mind how you get actually electricians to install a huge load of charging stations for your ground bases to start your business? I mean, if you're planning to do 50 or 100 in the first year, who is going to do that for you? Are you going to local electricians and convince them this is a good, like you pay them good margins, or are you trying to find a corporate partner or a bigger partner that is doing that for you everywhere you want to have them?
Actually, this might also be an advantage of installing bigger chargers, because with bigger chargers, the electricians earn more money, and thus they might prioritize those tasks over simple wall boxes. Because with wall boxes, actually this is the biggest demand nowadays in Germany, but it's really hard to find good service providers there. We already talked to some of them, and most of them told us where we are only doing the big charges because this is where it's interesting, and like the small stuff, we don't earn any money. So actually, we believe by building groups of communities and thus are able to use the charges more efficiently, we are also able to pay a bit more than the market average, and thus will be able to convince electricians to work on this with us. Yeah.
Okay. Then Björn, I guess you have some more experience on that.
Yeah.
On convincing and paying them extra.
Yeah.
We cannot hear you, unfortunately.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Now it's right.
Okay. First of all, thanks a lot, Lena, Georg, and Martin. I think this was a really good presentation, very profound. And you, as I said before, you address a very big point in the e-mobility future, providing enough charging infrastructure for the cars that are coming or still on the or already on the roads. So, and I saw that you already further developed and enhanced your model or your concept, comparing the first pitch. So this was really surprising, positively surprising as well. So that you got more into detail and enhanced your model. You displayed very good the use cases, and I think these are the use cases in reality that might be suitable for your solution. And you described very good the personas that are actually in the market, but also you looked in the future and you see what the development will look like and who needs to charge in the future. So that was excellent, and I think your ideas regarding the two models of providing infrastructure was as well a very good idea to you look a bit further and evaluate what other models there could be or exist in order to provide charging stations. So I think the approach is very good. The concept is very good. Still a lot of questions, but you addressed a few of them already. This is also good that you already looked into the challenges or got into the challenges and evaluated solutions for that. What I a little bit missed was, or my question would be, you started more as a digital platform the last time I saw your presentation. Now I get the idea that you want to provide charging stations for the customers, for Ingo and all the others. What actually would be the role of Connectra in the future? Is it more a community platform that connects demand and supply, or people that want to share a charging station, or do you really want to go into the role of providing the charging structure and be a mini CPO or e-mobility provider that really owns the station and provides the services to your customer?
I think from that, perspective, first of all, we want to act as a community or as a platform. So we really find and provide, for example, people or companies who are installing wall boxes, or also like on the same time offering the energy contract with people who are interested in sharing a wall box. So more of building like a cool community and then managing that. But definitely from now on, it's not our plan that we really said we also want to own the charger and provide it in that way. So it would still be more the community thinking behind that.
So yeah, as we found out that like the hassle-freeness is the most important motivation for our potential customers to invest in chargers and also in this sharing of chargers concept, we believe that our role would be like the facilitator to bring all those aspects together, to enabling the communities to acquire a charger, to bring them the correct electricity contract, to supply them with the necessary application for their phones in order to organize themselves so that they really don't have to care about anything, and we would also perform the accounting, the billing, all of that we would take over for them, so that they basically have a similar experience to a normal fuel station, with the only difference that it's close to where they live. Yeah.
Okay. So actually, you want to be the community and also provide some services like payment and that stuff. That means you want to invest also in tools and applications that provide the service to the customer. Is that correct? Or
I mean, as we have shown in the competitor overview, there is back-end solutions out there which we consider are quite good. And also by talking to you guys, for instance, but also to other corporate partners, we could see that developing back-end solutions yourself is very heavy. So you have to invest a lot, and in the end, you still might fail. So at least in the first place, we would certainly use service providers to proceed there. Yeah.
And the business model of your platform, how could that look like? Where do you expect the most profitable the profit stream coming from?
Well, actually, by supplying this idea of either rent a charger or get a charger for free, we believe that, this is like a classical startup approach, like be foolish, go into the market and do something different than other people are doing so far. But actually, this is where we believe we can attract some surprise, and we might be able to bring those people together and to convince them that it's a nice idea to own a charger by 4 or 5 parties. Yeah, actually, this is the major innovation we might bring to the market. Yeah,
I think we.
Yeah.
Philip, we
find out is how are you going to earn money? I mean, are you getting a royalty fee out of this? Let's say, what was it, 39 cents if you take the smart deal, right?
Yeah.
You pay 39 cents. How much cents would go into your pocket if you need to have a corporate partner that is actually owning the station and so on? I mean, there should be your pie at some point. You need to find your pie, and you need to pay your rent, and you need to pay your own life. Okay.
And it's good that you mentioned that, Philip, because this is also definitely something we're going to do within the next few weeks, that we really position ourselves and also like discuss how is this possible if we're working with corporate partners, if they're keen to do so, but using our cool brand and our community, and therefore also to increase maybe, for example, the sold in of kilowatt hours consumed. But nevertheless, I got the sign that we somehow have to come to an end because the time is sadly over. But we really, really appreciate your feedback, and we're really looking forward to talk to you soon, guys. To also develop that further and to progress our journey.
So yeah, definitely. So we would really enjoy further talks with you on that matter. And thank you so much for your feedback up to now. And we're looking forward to the final pitch and also to our private talks later this day and in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Perfect.
Right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Going back to Vanessa.
Wow, thank you everyone. Amazing. I'm glad when we're running out of time, because this also means that there's lots of interest and questions on the teams and the ideas. So I see this as very positive. So big thank you to the Connectra team. Also big thank you to ChargeMaker and Minova for all that interest and insight. So I'm pretty sure there will be some amazing follow-on sessions. Okay, so we heard 3 pitches now. You have you put lots of attention in the last hours. So we're going to have a quick break now, and it will be 15 minutes. So I think 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes. So we'll see back at 11:25 back in our live stream. We get freshed up and the other teams are coming in now. And see you in a second. So all the best. Thanks. I hope you had a good short break. And we're now starting off with our new, can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, good. Sorry. So back. So welcome back after our short break. And now I'm quite excited to hand over to our next team, which is called Greenlight. Originally the intermodal fleet management team. And that team will show us a little bit about their solution and idea about a dashboard for travel managers and how they can be more sustainable. So I'm handing over to Carl for Team Greenlight.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Hello. A warm welcome on behalf of my team. Hello from Wihang, our mobility expert. Hello from Myra, our designer and researcher. Hello from Dominic, our project manager. And hello from me, the communications guy. Today, we want to present you our journey that we had so far within the first 6 weeks of the mission, Mobility Be Urban. We're going to start by stating our vision, presenting our basic steps that we had and we took that brought us closer to our solution that we have right now. And at the end, we're going to wrap up with our challenges and future steps. We, the Team Greenlight, dream of a world where corporate mobility is sustainable and flexible. We dream of a world where it's normal just to take your bike to the next train station in order to start your business trip. We dream of a world where carpooling is not a thing anymore just for young people that want to take a ride to the next city and have a nice talk with it, and that in a cheap way, but normal in the business context. We dream of a world where domestic flights to visit your customers and clients are a thing of the past. Having this vision in mind, we looked at what corporate mobility is like. And we found out 3 areas that can be differentiated by the purpose and the level of leisure. On the first hand, we saw corporate benefits. Their mobility is used as corporate benefit. The purpose of that is being an attractive employer and being attractive to the employees. It's also about mobility, definitely, but it's also about saving taxes and this attractiveness part. Corporate benefits are things like the company car personally assigned to one person in the company that can take this car on the weekend to do family trips to the next lake, for example. But also mobility budgets go in that direction. Things your employee provide to you that you can use in your free time as a benefit. The next thing we identified is commuting. Commuting is defined as the travel between your home place and your usual place of work. Even though the purpose of this travel is you have to go to work, it's still a private thing, and companies have limited power in there. So they can do some things, they can offer parking spots, for example, or don't offer them, but they don't have that much power in there. And last but not least, we saw the area of business mobility. We define business mobility as mobility in order to get the job done. So very closely related to your job. These are things like business travel, for example. And we decided to take a closer look on business mobility. Why? Because business mobility is important to the firm. It's very related to the core business that they are doing. They really need that for their business. Furthermore, it's also relevant for the firm's sustainability, since emissions caused with business mobility are directly associated with the company. For example, emissions caused with commuting are very indirectly associated. So if you'd have to do a report about your emissions and your mobility, these are one of the last steps to take into account. Then the next thing about business mobility is that it's within the firm's authority. So the company has actually a huge leverage on shaping the mobility of their employees within it. Last but not least, we also figured out that employees actually like business travel. It's a thing they like. They just want to do business travel from time to time. And so it's also a nice part to get started and see how can we innovate in that area. With this research focus, we started our research. We asked several executives of small companies and startups about how they manage their business mobility. And we found out that these companies do their organization rather on trust and flexibility than on tool adoption and clear processes. We heard sentences like, well, I just give them the freedom that they want, we pay them, and my employees are so trustable and I really trust them. They just gonna do the best that is in the company's interest. We also asked them about how they perceive sustainability as a company, also especially to mobility. And what was really interesting was like, a lot of them said, well, that's an interesting point, but we don't really had a deeper look in that because, well, it's just a few emissions that we cause with it. And we rather focus with our sustainability, organizational sustainability, on building a social impact through our product and our services. Overall, we identified that small companies and startups may have some pain points and have pain points in this organization, but the benefits of having it simple, flexible, really outweigh these pain points. But this kind of organization is just possible if your size of the company is small. We saw that with growing company sizes, the need for adapting tool actually increases. Starting with baseline needs that are handled by tools. With size, companies start adopting more detailed financial management software. And these software already cover some mobility needs. What means mobility needs? Some mobility needs mean actually automatic reimbursement processes, for example, or actually data aggregation out of the purchases people made with company credit cards. At some point, even that is not enough for travel management within the companies. They need travel-specific tools for not only the financial parts, but also organizational and analytical parts. Following that path, we looked at bigger companies and mid-sized companies. We stumbled over a study by FreeNow that stated that 46% of mid-sized companies' travel managers see sustainability as one of their key weaknesses. Looking a little bit deeper on that and doing research about that, we figured out that the actual problem is that travel managers and companies don't really understand in detail how the environmental impact of different mobility forms and vehicles are created and combined with the employees' behaviors. It's a lack of data, easy, accessible, and understandable data. And this is really sad because the data is already out there. And if they would just prepare the data right and look at it, they could make better strategic decisions to become greener and be more environmental friendly with your fleet. This would enable things like data analytics and looking of, okay, how can, if some behavior changed of my employee or how some policies change, they could actually see how that would implement the core business. I would change the core business with it and really see the things. And then there's one quote we want to share with you. There was this discussion about compensation schemes, paying for the footprint. This really stuck with us because we thought of, is it so complex a problem of optimizing and being more environmental friendly with your fleet and still serving the needs of your employees, that companies start thinking about, well, just don't go in that direction, don't think about that, we just compensate and keep business as usual. And don't get me wrong, I think carbon offsetting is a good thing for offsetting or taking care of the environment with your necessary emissions that you have. But offsetting should not be the #1 solution of your company if it is about being more sustainable. As you saw, we identified the problem that companies don't understand in detail the environmental impact of their business travel and therefore can't take the right actions to become more sustainable. Thinking about that, we thought of the solution of building a dashboard for travel managers that actually gives them the information at their hand, at their fingertips, that they can use this information for analysis and then in the next step act on that. But we figured out it isn't as easy as that, because there's one big part missing in the story: the employees. In fact, 85% of employees have at least some decision-making power within business travel, within the business travel process. And whereas policies can frame and build a frame where these employees can act, they can't ensure that the employees always take the most sustainable option or the most sustainable options. And it's true. A successful sustainability strategy needs a sustainable culture to ensure success. A sustainable culture builds on awareness of the employees. Therefore, they need the right information at the right time to make decisions. It builds on connecting the personal values with the firm's goals to combine it and create synergies with creating the change. And last but not least, they also ensure that the employees support the change that they're making as a company. Because, well, if they don't support it, it's always top against bottom. And this is not a good thing if you really want to drive change. So we refined our problem statement and defined it as: firms don't understand the environmental impact of their business mobility and can't explain it to the employees to take action together. In order to solve that, we developed Greenlight. Greenlight helps firms to achieving their sustainability goals by explaining the environmental impact of business mobility to travel managers, but also travelers alike. We do that, as Vanessa already said, through a dashboard. With that, on the company side, you have all data at one place that is easy accessible. You also see or can directly link behavior of your employees to the environmental impact that it has. On the employee side, we also give feedback to the employees about their travel behavior, so they can really see how their travel affected the carbon footprint of the overall company. In addition to that, we also create a motivation system for them to be motivated to actually save carbon dioxide on their travels. But let's look how it looks in detail. This is Marion. Marion is the travel manager of the consulting firm Consultas. She wants to further reduce the CO2 impact of her company, but she doesn't know where she should actually start or which behavior actually creates the most CO2. With Greenlight, she can just easily open the dashboard. She sees the sustainability goal behavior, the target behavior, but also their current behavior. She can see all the different trips typed by different types of journey, combined by different types of journey and their environmental impact. And she can see how the goals are and how they are right now in the process. But in addition to that, she can also see the emission caused by different routes. For example, the route from Cologne to Munich. And see, is that a route where we actually emit a lot of CO2? And if she has that information, she can think of building a policy on that. So how does it look right now? How can we change it and save CO2 with it? And on the other hand, she can also have a look into, more detailed look into how then probably think of other measures to take. The other side is Thomas. Thomas is a partner at Consultas. Due to COVID, he is not traveling that much anymore. And he's actually very interested in finding out what his savings on his carbon footprints of business travel are within the company. But in normal companies, such information are not available as easy. With Greenlight, he just opens our platform, the dashboard. He gets a welcoming message and some quick feedback. You can take a look at the overview, see his emissions that he caused this year, see his rides that he did, also associated with the carbon footprint, and get some tips how he could improve. For example, take the train instead of the airplane. looking at the business, we see Greenlight as a new layer of sustainability within current corporate mobility management. Where current corporate mobility management has data on who travels when, how they travel, and at which cost. Mostly sustainability aspects are not considered in there. With building on that data and taking this data into account, we built and we can show the environmental impact of corporate mobility. But of course, we are not alone in the market of changing corporate culture and making employees or the company more sustainable. There are companies like Changers.com, Kotio, and Sphera that also are acting in the same market. But Greenlight is the only one that combines employee engagement and strategy facilitation, so both sides within the region of mobility. Having looked at the market and our competitors, we want to take a little closer look to who we actually tackle. We tackle companies that are medium-sized with more than 250 employees. We want to tackle companies that have aspirations to become more sustainable and actually want to act and have already initial motivation to be greener. And we want to tackle companies that do regular traveling or where the employees have regular traveling. Now coming to our challenges and future steps. Our main challenges right now are to see which of these potential features that we also thought about is actually valued by our customers. We thought about things like inclusion of carbon offsetting options. So at the end of the year, even though you saved and tried to save, you get the option for offsetting the rest of your emissions to become also more sustainable there. Then we're also thinking about certification and integration into sustainability reporting. That means that our data that we gather from the data that you already have can be certified by certification companies and then used for your sustainability reporting that you have to do if you're a company plus 500 people in Germany. We were also thinking about building a gamification engine and reward system for employee engagement, so that employees don't only get feedback on how they are doing, but also get motivated to take more sustainable choices. Last but not least, we were thinking about simulate a policy checker. What's a policy checker? We understand as a policy checker that we have this data of the last years, or of the last month somehow. And with a policy checker, you can just check policies that you plan to do, like, well, I just want my people going from Cologne to Munich, that they take the train. Then you put that into the policy checker, and you can see how that would have had an impact on the last year on your CO2 emissions. These are things that we are thinking about and that we have to validate whether they are asked by the customers or not. Getting more in detail about the next steps we do, in April we're going to integrate your feedback into our product, ideate our product around that, build a new and really good MVP, and a second business model that gets more into detail and really understands where we actually make money from. Then in May, we're all going to see each other again at the final pitch. So now, thank you very much. I'm very curious, and my whole team is also very curious to hear your feedback on Greenlight, but also to work together with you for the next 6 weeks, because together we can make corporate mobility sustainable and flexible. Thank you. So now let's get to our feedback givers. So we have Hello. Stefan, and Niels. So just quickly, 1 second, then I can hear you as well. So now I can hear you. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Can you hear me?
One of you guys saying something because
yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, well then.
Can you hear me?
I have to probably double check it. I'm sorry for that all technical issues. Guys, just wait a second. I'll be right back.
No worries.
Okay.
I'm back and now I can hear you all. So starting with Stefan, your feedback on Relight.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Thanks for your presentation.
Now I can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
Just got a call. First of all, thanks for your what kind of emotional presentation. I could really feel you being very deep into the topic. So I like that. I struggled a little bit with following you because sometimes you were standing in front of your presentation and I couldn't really get all details. So just this little feedback, try to make sure that everything is visible. As I followed you during the last weeks and especially the last days, I know that you struggled as a team finding the right idea now I can see a vision and I can see a development during just the recent days. I'm not 100% sure what exactly is the product or how the product gets a market or gets to be a business model. I understand the concept. I find myself, well, we are a big company, but anyway, I can imagine that companies and travel agents or whoever personas are into your ecosystem, that they need this kind of visualization and basis to take decisions. I don't really understand how you get your data in the layer below your layer, because you were talking about mid-sized companies where there is no centralized travel handling. So I guess that there is no data available. And how can you visualize and consolidate a non-existing data layer? So this is a big question in my head. Maybe you can answer that just right now.
Yeah, just from right now, what we figured out so far is that there's at least some point of data collection, even in the reimbursement processes. They have data like, okay, this is the route traveled, or this is this taking was taken by this company credit card, was paid for petroleum. So there is some data already there, but we actually really see that point that there are a lot of different data sources. And we, for the beginning, really have to see, okay, where are the data sources where we can work on, or even look a step in front and see, okay, where can we actually collect data? So there you have a very valid point that this is very important for us and also for our further development to see how we then continue to see where the data is coming from. So thank you very much, Stefan, for your feedback.
Yeah, just one little addition. So I can see some spots now, and I can see the spots getting clearer, but I miss the linking of the spots still a little bit. So this should be your next task to get this connection done. What I liked was just the term policy tracker. I know that well, at least in our company, building up a policy with fits everything and is the right one is a big challenge for us as a big company. So I guess it's also a challenge for smaller companies. So I like the idea of having a button where I can adjust my goals and and there comes the policy out of it. So this is definitely one thing which got my attention. So but still, this is only a point and just a term. But I would be happy if you work on that, because this is something which is really getting my attention. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks.
Then handing over to the other Stefan.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for the presentation and your motivation. You could follow your argumentation very easily. And when I took a look at your app, you have two target groups. One, the fleet manager, And the second one, the person who actually goes on a business trip and to see, or in order to reduce the carbon footprint. So is there a chance for the user of the app or the person that actually goes on a business trip to adapt for the car that is put in the app? So you have very different footprints when you take a look at the car range. Cars, like you can have a sports car with a high emission, or you can have a plug-in hybrid or electric vehicle, and which might be the motivator to at the decision making for the new company car. So is there a chance to adapt for the cars, because it looks like really general, like flights and e-scooters and cars? So is it possible to go more in detail? That's the question.
So this is a very good question, because normally also, as you said, like even a flight is not a flight exactly the same, and it also depends on how you do the calculation. We plan in the beginning to have it more abstract, and not really abstract, but have it more, not like this is a car and this is a usual car usage, but then get more into detail within the development. We have to look at this, how we can do that, and also how we can identify the different car types. So this is probably a part where the company has also to take some action and really say, okay, we have this fleet cars, we have this type of cars, probably also seeing into driver behavior at its later stages. So this is also very connected to the point that the other Stefan raised before. It's also about how we can get these data. And this is a critical point that we also have to work on. But yeah, totally, we see that point also with integrating different kinds of company cars with their different footprints and their different, with their different footprints at the end and different emissions. So also this can be a suggestion made by this tool. For example, in the long term, that you can change your classical fleet with an electric fleet, for example, if that fits your need. So this is what we thought, but we have to still refine on that. So now looking, Niels.
Thank you very much.
Stage.
Thank you very much, and a really hot topic and an important topic nowadays, the whole issue of sustainability. So I think you got a point there. Would be easy to find interested venture capitalists. However, I do want to, before I give some advice or critique, my main question is, so are you also the booking platform, or do you connect to the booking platforms of the companies and then you receive the data of, so where is your data source coming from?
So what we plan to do is to be an add-on for these booking and also management softwares at the end. So as right now we see it also, we can probably come in already if we have a travel management software after the booking even, so that we have a third layer behind that creates a sustainability dimension, but also looking in the direction of how we could probably integrate with booking already. So we don't want to do the booking part in the first place. Yes, because this would...
So basically, your main task is to connect with various APIs if they exist, because many companies may use various solutions for their business travel. I know every company I worked for, everybody's doing it different. So this is a huge task to connect all the data sources. And then I wanted to, the target group. You said it's the travel manager, you said it's the guy who travels. And I say no. Your target group is the CSR manager within the board of directors. Because basically the benefit for the travel manager is none, unless he is personally interested in sustainability. But his business goals, how he gets his bonuses, how he's paid, is by delivering a service and saving on travel costs and making good negotiations with travel agencies whatsoever. However, CSR is becoming more and more important in every company many people also have a C-level manager who is responsible for running CSR. So I think these people would be really interested in your product because it makes their life much easier to report. I was in a project at my last company in EnBW, and we have had a huge sustainability project where we tried to get all from our logistics, travel, even printer and energy consumption. So we wanted to find out where is our CO2 consumption, how and how can we become CO2 neutral. So your tool would be perfect for these kinds of managers who are responsible for that for the CSR within the companies and make their life easier. So maybe reconsider marketing your product into that direction might be an easier pitch. That would be my advice there. Other than that, I think it's a great tool. I think I'm a big fan of nice dashboards. I love nice dashboards, but I know how hard it is to get nice dashboards because the data source is always the key. And maybe don't underestimate the efforts of connecting all the APIs, and then begins the logic. I was in a project where we tried to actually match the CO2 Einsparung, the CO2 savings when you have solar energy connected with other energy forms. So yeah, there might be a lot of work for you on that, collecting the data, and then obviously interpreting the data, and then delivering it to the dashboard. So this is huge, but I think the possibilities are huge as well because, as I said, more and more companies are really into that CSR thing.
Then thank you very much. We're looking very much forward to discuss that more in detail on you. Afterwards, we're going to schedule some feedback calls, and I hope all of you guys can attend them and give us more in detail feedback, also with us preparing already for it. As I see on the time, I have to hand over again to Vanessa and the next groups. Then thank you very much and bye-bye.
Thank you, Carl and team. Fantastic. And also again to the feedback givers with amazing insights. So now I would like to ask you full attention on our last team and pitch. Always the first one is the most difficult one and the last one. So appreciate if you could really focus on our last team now. Our last team is Goldfinch. The future is in the air, how they called, or also originally our intermodal vehicle drone delivery team. So get excited about their idea about a sustainable and quick delivery of spare parts with drones. So over to Marvin.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hey, great that you're still here with us. My name is Marvin and I'm here in behalf of the team Goldfinch. So first of all, I'm really looking forward to present today what we have been working on so hard in the last month. I think it's a great achievement. But before we start, I would like to take the chance to say a big thank you to all of the corporate partners that supported us so much with our research. That was of a great help and it made us or helped us to get to the point where we are right now. Now, there's one thing, and I feel that's really important. Behind every idea, there is this team, this outstanding team, and I'm proud to say we are such a team. From the left to the right, there's Neil, our project manager. She makes sure that we align internally and that we reach our goals. Then there is Anurag. Anurag is our product manager. He keeps track of the product and the features. Also, we have Natalia in the team. Natalia is our innovation manager. She aligns product development with innovation management. And then last but not least, it's also myself. My name is Marvin, as I already mentioned. I'm the strategy manager, and I'm bringing to the table the business view. Now, as you might know already from our first kickoff, we truly believe that the future is in the air. We want to enable fast and sustainable delivery of urgent spare parts by means of drones. Now, you might be interested what we're going to present today.
Therefore, we here have a quick agenda. We're going to start off with a quick situation of the current B2B delivery in the last mile. We will also come over some pitfalls there, and that's how we derive the problem statement. Then I'm going to provide you some really unique insights from our user research. And finally, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Anurag, who's already waiting. He's going to present our solution that fits the customer needs and also creates value. Finally, Anurag will present our roadmap, the further steps of the Goldfinches. Now, step right ahead, or better to say, fly into the situation. So, how does the current B2B last mile delivery looks like? What we know is that there's a warehouse and there's a company. And a parcel or spare part gets delivered from A to B. This company is basically caring for the cheapest delivery option. How comes? Transporting service is basically a highly comparable good. So it's just understandable that they take the cheapest. Now, changing the scenery and the settings here a little bit. Now, this exact company needs an urgent spare part. With urgent referring to there's some time pressure in the process now. Now imagine, how does the current urgent B2B last mile delivery looks like? I will show it to you. Oof, nothing changed really. However, there's kind of an unsatisfied party now. They are looking for the fastest delivery option now. However, it still keeps staying the same. So that's where we thought about, can they even afford to wait? Can they afford to wait longer than necessary? And we believe they can't. I brought you here 3 different showcases. We will go through each real quick, and I'll show you that it's really important to have urgent delivery options on the last mile. Starting off with technology. Just imagine there's a critical prototype that needs to get delivered from the R&D department in order to ensure a timely launch of a product. Could be also in manufacturing. Could be that transporting an urgent spare part needed so much for a $1 billion machine in order to prevent a complete shutdown of the factory. And last but not least, could also be in medtech. Could be that there's a medical spare part that needs to be transported as soon as possible to a hospital in order to fix a machine that is so much needed to treat the patients and thereby save lives. So what all of those examples have in common is that time does matter. And that's why we ask us the question, why does the urgent last mile B2B delivery doesn't look like this? Why don't we use a drone? It would be feasible. We know that 50% of the urgent deliveries can be carried in a little shoebox, and they're just 6 kilograms heavy. Also, it would be more time efficient. We know by using a drone, we would reduce the time by half. Also, it would be, third point, more sustainable, because we could power this drone by renewable energy sources. And the result is clear. The company is now happy with the fastest delivery option. That brings us to our problem statement. So we really thought about how we could help delivery companies to optimize the last mile delivery of urgent spare parts by using the drones that are flying in the air. Now, knowing that, we were also thinking about our persona. We wanted to learn about their needs. And that is why we conducted expert interviews. We did 12 in total. And now you're the first ones who will learn about the unique insights we gathered. But back to the beginning. There's Andrea and there's Mark. And now I'm going to tell you more about those 2 persons and what their needs are. We're going to start off with Andrea. Andrea is the CEO of a drone company. She's really on that technical side. She wants to make her product, her drone, better. Should weigh less, should fly faster, should fly longer distance, and so on. Since she's still working in a startup environment, there is some natural resource limit. That means it's just understandable that she would need some support on the business side. We also learned that she's really into the topic of drone service providers. She wants to get a drone service provider, but she needs some help there to set up the platform and also to attract customers. Now, changing the scenery, there's Mark. Mark is the manager in an urgent delivery company. Any Courier Express service out there. Mark really is into trying to cut down the time of delivery and to make sure that delivery happens on time. He would not say no to drone delivery. He's interested in that topic and he already thought about it. He looked into the internet, but he's like just overwhelmed of the information jungle out there. There are so many options and he's just not sure about what drone has which features and what he could do with what drone. He also doesn't want to own the draw set as an asset. He's more interested in accessing the service and choose from a variety of drone providers in order to fit his customers' needs the best. Now, as we understand where both persons are coming from, starting with Andrea to sum it up, she needs support in business matters. She needs visibility. She wants to find customers to survive and basically sell her product. And then there's Mark. Mark needs to deliver parcels on time and he even wants to reduce that time. So he needs variety in the last mile delivery options. He wants to get insights into the drone market and he also wants to get use cases to better understand what drones are capable of. So now having two sides, having the supply side, having the demand side. For me, sounds like a bit that there is a high potential for market, isn't it? Let's see if that's also mirrored in current market numbers. So what we see is in terms of demand and supply, in terms of Andreas and Mark's, there are around 400 drone companies in Germany and about 16,000 delivery companies. Looks good so far, doesn't it? We digged a little bit deeper and what we figured out is that just 5% of the commercial drones flying around are used for transportation purposes. That's quite a bummer actually. However, we also learned that it's an emerging market and there's a huge growth potential. What we learned is that the demand in the commercial drone market will rise by 15% each year in the next 5 years. We are talking about doubling the market size. And a huge stake of that will be related to drones and transportation. Now, having that in mind, and also having the needs in mind of Andrea and Mark, what pops out immediately in our head was, what could we do at the Goldfinches in order to make sure that this growth happens and turns into the reality in the next years? That's exactly what our solution is about, and now I'm happy to hand over to my colleague Anurag.
Wow. Thank you, Marvin, for giving the torch to me. So now that we know that how much potential market has for the drone companies, especially in the logistics industry, along with that we also know what are the needs of both the industries, it only drove us to come up with a solution which is going to fit well for both, and which is going to satisfy needs of both the parties. Therefore, we plan to create a solution, a market network solution, which is going to enable the urgent deliverers optimize their last mile delivery. Sounds cool, but what the product actually is? Let's have a look. We plan to support the delivery companies in identifying and also learning the use cases of all the drone companies that are there available in their geographical location of operation. Once done with that, it's also fair that we help them compare their current last mile delivery along with that of a drone implementation so that they can have a view of how a drone delivery can help them optimize their transport management in logistics. Also going further, we also want to help the deliverer identify that which is the best drone or which is the best drone vehicle that is going to satisfy their need for one specific delivery. Now we roughly know what our product is. Let me just quickly run you through that how we as a team are planning to do it. What we plan to do is we basically want to collect information. We want to collect information from the drone providers regarding their vehicle specifications, their parcel carriage capacity, and also all the use cases that they have performed. And once we have that, we really want to classify it and show it in a very centralized and standardized manner on our platform. A platform which a deliverer can just come and see that all the options that he has, all that these companies are doing, so that he can build trust in them and also going further can possibly make decisions of planning to work with them. For the offer part or helping the deliverer identify that which is the best drone for it, we planning to develop an algorithm or a tool which this platform would suggest to the deliverer that, okay, right, this company at this time is going to satisfy your need. Fine, now we know about our product and how it works. Let's just quickly have a look at how Mark, the logistic industry manager, is going to see our product as, or what our product will look like to Mark. Once into our product or our platform, he will be able to see all the features in forms of a tab. In tabs, in features which is going to learn from starting to getting to know what the drone companies are doing right now along with their use cases, through to finding the potential drone that is going to help him deliver. Now, if he wants to see that which are the drone companies right in there in the market which are available, he can go to the first tab. We will greet him with a very map-based visualization, wherein he can see that all the drone companies that are spread around. And he can also find that where these drone companies feel like operating. For example, if Mark just wants to probably have a look in Germany, that which are the drone companies providing services in Germany, he can go to Germany, and let's assume that Wingcopter in future is going to possibly jump into or add service business to their cases. So Mark can have a look at all the use cases Wingcopter has performed. Along with that, Mark will also be able to see what are the features of the drone vehicles that Wingcopter will be using to deliver, along with also what are the carriage capacity, because that is something which is very important. Moving on to the second feature, if Mark wants to have a look at how is he potentially going to improve his last mile delivery, he can move in here and we will show him in a very simulation-based visualization, in a very simulation manner in which he can clearly see that how much time is he going to save if he uses a drone. And mind you, time is very important when it comes to urgent deliveries. Also, we truly believe that in near future, drones are going to be more cost efficient to that of a van, especially for urgent deliveries. Moving to the sustainability factor. As we know that a van produces a lot of CO2 emissions through its entire life cycle. Just imagine probably a van taking one urgent delivery from point A to point B. Why can't it be a drone? A drone which is powered by renewable energy. It will also help cut down the CO2 emissions and help in sustainability index of the delivery company. Let's move ahead and see our third feature. If Mark wants to see the third feature, he can fill in on the information from where to where does he want to transport, what type of package it is, and our platform with all the data analytics will help him find the right fit. The right fit, which is going to be mainly based on availability and also accessibility. And we truly believe that in near future, this feature is going to be probably the most important feature, because when there will be multiple drone service providers in one geographical location, this becomes very important to see that who is available right now and what their services are. Moving ahead, if you remember, I already said that we really plan to solve the needs of both the companies, of both the sectors. So let me just show you that what value do we exactly bring to table to both of them. Let's imagine Mark. If you can recall, what were the pain points of Mark? He wants a new innovative solution for his last mile delivery that is going to optimize and help him cut down on crucial time that is important for last mile deliveries and in urgent cases. Along with that, he also doesn't want to own the assets because he already has too many transport management tool that he has to handle. So he doesn't want to own an asset. Along with that, he also wants all of this information on one platform, because as Marvin already told you that there is an information jungle Everything is clustered. All the drone service providers are providing all the information that they have on their separate websites, and Mark doesn't really have time to go through all of them to choose one. So, as you already can imagine, this product does that for him. Coming to assets, you know Andrea? You remember Andrea? She really has assets. She has all the assets, the drones, and also the services. But she's really lacking business. She's not able to get business, probably because there is no visualization. And this platform is going to help her be visible so that she can be available and also be in the eye of her customer, that is the deliverer. So as you can see that we are really bringing something to the table for both the parties or for both the providers. Let's move ahead and let me just show you that where we stand in the market. As you can see in the graphical representation, that there are various companies that are doing transportation consulting or even delivering, probably using traditional methods of transportation, both for B2B and B2C market. And we are talking here specifically for urgent deliveries. But all of them, as I said, are just using traditional methods, which are really a bummer because world is moving ahead. And that's where our uniqueness comes into picture. We introduced the drone technology in the mainstream delivery so that Mark can actually see and probably use this platform to make changes in his transportation management so that he can improve his service. And we really want to start with B2B market at first. Now that we know that where we stand in the market, let's just see where we stand in the project. As you can see in this project, currently we are halfway through and we are delivering this interim pitch in which, with the help of all the information that we have gathered through user researches and also through all the interviews, the company Goldfinch is currently nesting in the nest of Futury, trying to learn all this. And after learning all this, we have really been able to refine our product to this point. Going ahead, as you can see in the roadmap, we will not only try to develop a business model around our product, but we will also try to prepare a proper prototype, which we can present in the final pitch. But most importantly, we will keep intaking feedback. We will keep intaking constructive feedback that will help us, if necessary, to refine our product even more. And once we are done with the project and the Goldfinch company is ready to fly after getting out of the nest of Futury, we really want to start working on launching of our first minimum viable product. Our first minimum viable product, as I already stated, that is going to help the deliverer see all the possible drone options that are there in his geographical location and also help him compare to his current delivery options, and so that he can see that how drones are going to help him. And once the regulation starts getting shifted in our favor, we really believe that we want to take this product ahead and transform it into a booking system so that we take more load off the drone service provider, so that a drone service provider, Andrea, and her team can only focus on flying the drones and also delivering parcels and not fall into this hassle of invoicing and all the other things that she has to do. So we're going to transform into business like a booking system. And once we have a certain amount of orders, it only is fair that we provide the deliverers with competitive intelligence. When there will be multiple operators, then this competitive intelligence will help Mark feel comfortable in choosing an option, in choosing a drone service provider which he can trust, because we are going to give him all the information that this company has done. Before ending, I would really like you to have a look at this picture. In this picture, as you can see, this amazing team is trying to fly, and so is the drone technology. It is trying to fly. Obviously, we really feel that there are some barriers, but I feel we are the right team that are going to crack the market and take it ahead. Along with this, we really believe that the future of logistics is in the air, just like we are in the air in these photographs. Thanks a lot for listening to us, and we are really excited to hear your feedbacks. And for that, I would like to welcome Carlin from Wingcopter, Leah from DFS, and Jan Erik from Dronic. Let me just welcome my member, Marvin here. So we would really like to hear from Carlin from Wingcopter. a brief feedback
Hi.
about our product.
Hey, Colin.
Yes, thank you. Hi, great presentation, Team Goldfinch. I'm really happy with the framing that you've done in the beginning of the presentation, and I'm also happy that you've incorporated what we have discussed in our sessions, like having that selection option and for the customers to be able to compare the existing modes of transport as compared to drone solutions. So that's really good. I just have a question on the target segments, right? So you mentioned that you wanted to deliver urgent B2B spare parts for technology and for manufacturing and also for medtech. And then you've done some expert interviews, but then the solution is kind of leaning more towards the logistics companies or like the delivery service companies. And also that is reflected on the graph that you've shown and also the competitors that you're looking at. So my question here is, are you creating this B2B platform for their own use, or is it going to be free for all, or like all the different companies can use it? Because the use will be different. So for example, if for manufacturing, they might want to own their own products and their own drones. And then for if it's going to be a platform, it's a question of how often will they use the drone solution, because we will need as a manufacturer, we will need to apply for permits in each of and every location and not fly all over, at least in the beginning. Do you have some more thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a valid point, Colin. I mean, you probably remember it from our discussions. We were also in between those three parties, right? So the drone company, then the delivery company, and then some kind of receiver of the parcel. You're absolutely right with that. I feel the first step of the software will be just aiming at the delivery companies to show them what options will be available. That's kind of the first part, and thereby also referring to kind of the regulation part there. So we want to show what is possible with different use cases, what type of drones are there. That will be the first step. And thereby we are hoping to push the regulations further. And then in the next step, we need to discuss who is like the target group where we start with, like who is the person that uses then this delivery option in the end.
Okay, thank you. And maybe to be respectful of time, I will hand it over to the other speakers. But then maybe for our next meeting, we can discuss like what is the business model, like, or the monetization model that you have in mind for the platform and the acquisition for both the partner and the user.
Sure, we are looking forward to that, our discussion.
Thank you.
Perfect. So next on our agenda would be Leah. Welcome, Leah from DFS.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes? Okay, great. So first of all, it was a great presentation. That was actually the first time I really saw what you've been working on the whole time, because it was pretty vague in the beginning. And your whole concept is pretty much based on what's next in the future. I don't think there are that many drone delivery operators out there in the market yet. There will be, hopefully, but yes, at the moment it's pretty much thought into the future what will come up next, actually. So it's pretty difficult, like to get a feeling for what the business or the drone delivery companies actually need, or if they have this platform already built up then for themselves.
Yeah, as we see, like we have conducted interviews and that we found out that many of these drone companies, manufacturers really want to shift towards providing service. And this is the trend that we have seen. And like, because that they are moving more and more towards service, they will also need to be visible to everyone. And that's the pain point that we really want to crack. And as you can see that we are trying to bring value to both the sides, the logistic industry, because they are struggling with, obviously we see that, companies like Wingcopter and other companies are posting all the use cases that they have done probably on their LinkedIn or on their website. But there's not one-stop shop, wherein if a logistic company or a distributor wants to make urgent deliveries, he cannot come to one platform and possibly see all the available options and what everybody is doing. And that's how we see, like, the market would develop. That's the reason why we think that as after the project, we can start with our minimum viable product, getting to know that who really wants to step into this service business, and then start taking their inputs and displaying their use cases, so that the logistic industry or the distributors who want to make urgent delivery can kind of learn from it and also like possibly gain trust in these companies. And as I said, if the regulations start moving in our favor, then we are really going to take off pretty big, I feel.
Actually, Leah, thank you so much for contributing, but I want to be fair here and also want to give like the last probably 2 minutes we have to you and Eric. I'm really looking forward to discuss what you have in mind in the next follow-up meeting we have scheduled. So handing over to you and Eric from Tronic.
Hey guys, actually I'm thrilled, to be honest. When I look at the beginning, what we've talked about and the question marks in your heads, all of your heads, and what has come out so far is perfect, because this is exactly what my idea was behind that. I mean, not what you have developed, but what your main focus on that project should be, because your solution in the end is a use-based service provider who will do all the, let's say, work for you to be able to fly. And your approach is to get the customer on board, and the rest should be done by the provider offering you that service that you could fly. So this is actually a perfect fit. And we can also integrate that into our platform because that brings everything together, and this is actually, even if the market is not there, the market will come. We don't know who will be the first, let's say, the first product which will be delivered. It will not be a pizza, it will be something different. But we should be ready for that, and it should be easy for the customer to decide what he wants to buy, or for the manufacturer or for the operator what he can offer. So it should be very easy for both sides to integrate their offer and or the service, and for the other one just to take that and make it possible and book it and pay for it. And this is the beginning. Just try to keep it simple. I know in the end it is very difficult, I know, but in the front end, the user interface, it should be pretty easy and clear what the service and the offers is, and what all has to be done, let's say, behind the scenes doesn't make any sense for the customer to know. He wants to have his delivery or his product delivered in time and let's say in a kind of budget. So he should know what the cost is in the end. He should know what will be the delivery time. This is pretty clear, but keep it simple. This is the only thing I want to say. It looks good, and I'm really interested in how you proceed with that project. Yeah. And really looking forward to the next steps.
Yeah, we really feel like we.
And one more word, and I really liked how you presented. I can feel that you like what you do, and keep that up. This is very, very important, and this makes you. How say that? I'm missing that word now. It looks good, and we trust what you say, and we can believe that this is true what you say, and this is also very important if you try to tell a story, and if you are trying to find investors later on. Just keep that up. This is perfect.
Thanks a lot for giving all these beautiful insights, and I feel that we as innovators are the one that the missing jinx, probably the regulations, we are trying to pull it towards us. With that said, we would like to hand over to Vanessa to end this interim pitch session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Anurag, drone flying team, Marvin, well done. I'll see the teams already in the back kind of clapping and being extremely excited, which I totally understand, because you are all kind of relieved now. And I know at 1 we have some food coming up, so unfortunately we cannot show you the clubbing in the back, but looks great. So I think it was really fantastic. Thanks also to Jan Eric, Caroline and Leah for the feedback and all the insights. Before we're wrapping up, we have planned kind of short interview sessions, because as you can imagine, I mean, all these results out of the 5 last weeks, of course, the teams are heavily, responsible for this, to bring that up. But at the same time, there's lots of coaching in the back, which you might not see on a regular basis. So we have, and we'll come to this in a second, but we have Bain with us as one of our initiators from the mission, supporting on a weekly basis in deep dives and coaching sessions. The Futury team is doing quite a bit. We run workshops on sustainability, on user research also. I mean, there's lots of happening in the back. So I guess this is the one also like success factor. And of course, on the other hand, it's absolutely you, the corporate partners. And I think especially now the discussion or the feedback giving afterwards showed extremely well how important it is to have the right kind of corporate partners and people on board coming from that industry, having that knowledge, having that background, and providing that background. And I think that's also the beauty of our program and the mission, what we do here, is that, and that's a huge difference, that we bring that together, the knowledge that other kind of maybe startups or talented people might not get access to so quickly. So that's why I wanted to have a short conversation with two beautiful and amazing ladies. So one, we have Melanie Rupp from SEAT as our premium partner, as you know, and we have Jule from Bain and Company, who's supporting the teams on the ground. And I would like to talk to them a little bit about what happened in the last weeks, looking sozusagen backwards, looking forward, and also some sort of advice for the next weeks. So it's a pleasure to have you both here after that amazing time in pitches now. So Jule from Bain and Company, she's also, or she joined the mission first time with that program, and she is on the ground, of course remotely, but on the ground with the teams on a regular basis, coaching them, giving them insights, advising, reviewing. I know that you and Max, also from Bain, had been very supportive in reviewing slides, educating on storylines and whatever is behind. So maybe we start off with Jule, talking a little bit about the collaboration, especially looking backwards now in the last weeks. So Jule, how did the collaboration with the teams go on the one hand side, but also what were the greatest successes from your perspective you have seen so far? And then also on the other side, what were the biggest challenges you have seen in the last weeks?
Great. Can you understand me? Does it work? Okay, cool. So yeah, first of all, I just really want to thank everyone for the great pitches, but also for the great work we had over the last weeks, basically. So overall, the collaboration and working with the teams was actually a lot of fun for Max and I, and super fruitful as well. When I think actually about successes, for me, it was just so cool to see how the teams actually evolved week over week. And therefore, I mean, really growing as a team and really pushing their ideas forward. And also by that, really overcoming obstacles. That was just really, truly great. From a challenge perspective, what we've seen at some point was that it took for some of the teams sometimes to really get into gear working with this newly founded team. And then on the other hand, also really thinking about how to best get into the driver's seat. So really to focus on the right things at the right times without getting distracted by side asks or things that are not relevant yet. So therefore, not only being an entrepreneur, but also being as some kind of manager, owning the process and prioritize accordingly, while also keeping the vision in mind.
Absolutely valid points, Jule. And I think this is also a challenge for most of our team members on a general base, because there's not only so much to learn, but there's so much also to kind of incorporate, as you said, being the entrepreneur, being responsible for the things, looking into things you've learned, applying what you've learned, then challenging, then suddenly it doesn't work out, then there is feedback that is not so helpful, then you find out something new, so kind of adjusting to that process. I think that's absolutely also one of the key takeaways for our teams, I think. Okay, good. Melanie, I mean, as you know, Seat is our premium partner, and Melanie is kind of the spider in the web, if I may call you like this, because she's amazingly enough coordinating all our activities within Seat with all the teams. So Melanie has been involved also in like all the discussions, so she has a good overview of what the teams are working on. She always needs to explain to her colleagues what the mission is, what the teams are doing, and so when we're looking now also backwards, Melanie, over the last 6 weeks, and specifically talking about the ideas, how they evolved, and I think today is a great day to kind of look at, okay, where did they start? I mean, you know, what was the first idea? And as I was mentioning, like a few weeks ago, this might completely change, and Jan-Erik just mentioned it as well. So what's kind of your, how did the ideas evolve? What kind of experiences you made? And are there any highlights for you want to share?
Yeah, actually, with the input from Julia, it is becoming more clear that the progress the teams are making within their collaboration, I think also affects the progress they make when it comes to the ideas. I can imagine that working so closely together leads to a more clear vision on where the idea should go. And besides the fact that it's great that we have so many different ideas, I think it's interesting to see how fast some of the ideas grow and evolve in this short time. Like you said, I mean, we just have seen also the interim pitches, and it's great how confident the teams become with their ideas and how enthusiastic they are about it. And of course, there's still a way to go, and some ideas are probably more feasible and tangible at the moment than others. But I think that the ideas are really clear, and that's also something I noticed when the teams were talking to me and the colleagues from SEAT. As you said, I arranged some meetings with colleagues to help and support the teams. And the communication is becoming more and more professional during the last couple of weeks. And also the questions coming from the teams are more precise and on point. So you notice that they really know and what they want and where they want to go. And so the external perception actually was really good, and I only received positive feedback from my colleagues.
I'm glad to hear this, and that's what I was hoping for. You know, in the beginning, a little bit like maybe too many questions, too many not precise enough questions, but now I think, and that's what you also see, while the teams are more into the content, and I really mean in content and knowledge. Let's take the Grown team, for example. I think they have much more knowledge now about the field and the industry, and so they're able also to ask other type of questions. So I think that's good. Thank you for the feedback as well. That's good to see and hear. Now looking forward, so we have another 6 weeks until 11th of May. And Jule, specifically for you, so what would you suggest, or what will be important for the teams to focus on in the next weeks? Because now, you know, there's kind of the Bergfest interim. There will be lots of feedback coming in, but time flies, 6 weeks quickly done. So what's the key focus for the teams in the next weeks?
Mm-hmm. So from my perspective, it's really closely listening to the feedback they've received today and over the next week to like really detail further the products they're working on. And this, on the one hand, for me, is really thinking about how can they further go into prototyping and testing it with potential customers, and therefore also really listening in to the customers and better understand what their specific needs are, so that in the next step, they can really master the product market fit. I think another step is also really important to think about what is the business model we want behind that. Especially also today in the feedback, some of the corporate partner already mentioned that. So from my perspective, this is also really something to focus on over the next week, to kind of like think about how they can back up the really good ideas they have at the moment. I think in addition, it's also super important just to have a clear vision for the future and really communicating this for after the pitch, because I think this is actually the basis for really identifying the future need and therefore really figuring out what is the best partner they need to really succeed.
Yeah, very good advices. So I hope all the team members listened well. But I'm sure you're going to share again in the next deep dive or coaching session with them. So very good. Melanie, as you are the kind of from the corporate partner side, and you've been doing the work now and closely being involved in this, is there any recommendation you would give the other corporate partners also for the remaining 6 weeks, or anything that worked well where you said this is really helpful maybe for the teams, or how you can arrange?
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend to take the participation at the mission and the whole project as an inspiration and gain the energy which is coming from the teams. So maybe there are new impulses the corporate partners can get coming from the teams or an idea, which brings a different point of view during our daily business we are all in. And as far as some partners haven't done it yet, I think, as you already mentioned, Vanessa, it's great to help the teams and try to involve experts from your companies to help the teams and to set up meetings to talk to each other, but also spread the word about the project and to create more awareness about the project itself. And maybe also for certain ideas, it makes sense to team up within different corporations and work together and more closely to help the teams.
Yeah, I'm glad you're mentioning it specifically in terms of seeing this also an opportunity for the corporate partners to kind of maybe get some new inspiration, some ideas, working with different kind of people. And then, and you just mentioned it, Melanie, I think this will be important in the last weeks to also kind of hook up a little bit in terms of what corporate partners might be relevant for some of the teams following on, because I'm pretty sure, and also for me how it looks like some of the teams, they're not going to finish 11th of May. There will be maybe some follow-on. So maybe thinking about already like how can this be supported to have the teams following on. But maybe Melanie, last question, talking about corporate partners, but now talking about the corporate, about the teams and maybe giving them some excitement. What would you like to give them kind of as an advice or wish or anything they should look for and do and take away from the next 6 weeks?
Yeah, I can think about some takeaways, actually adding also to just what Julia said. So first, I think we heard during the pitches your visions and your ideas. So I think sometimes it's also maybe good to reconsider the values we were talking about in the beginning. I think we had a value workshop. They were, I looked them up again, I have to admit, they were trust, courage, open-mindedness, and of course, sustainability, just to stay on track with your idea. Secondly, I think is also something which from corporate side, or I mean, it's when I'm working in a project, it happens to me as well. So focus on your concept of your idea and focus on the real customer need or the business need you want to target. So really think customer centric, as you already do with your personas, but don't get lost in too much details. Your ideas should always be feasible at the end to become real and of course satisfy a customer need. And Julia also mentioned that focus on the business model for the next couple of weeks. Third, maybe I would say coming back again to your visions and mission statements, remember that you can be part of the transformation of the mobility industry and that your ideas really can make a difference to solve problems in the mobility sector. And last but not least, which I think is probably also the most important part of the project, have fun within your team, support each other. And since you have some more weeks to go, keep your level of energy and have fun.
Amazing summary, Melanie. Especially I like the last one, have fun. This shouldn't be only like a tough and exhausting exercise, but also some fun piece. So it's great to have you both as part of the team. I appreciate lots of your input, insights and everything you're doing for the team. So thank you very much. And I'm kind of wrapping up with a few words and I'll see you around. So thank you for the interview and the insights. So yes, so what's ahead? 2 last slides before we round up. Yes, so interim pitch is done now. We are finished. So, of course, there's the second half. As I was mentioning, we're at the Bergfest, so we have a few more weeks to go. Of course, the teams will now synthesize on what they've learned and heard today. There will be some more prototyping. There will be more focus on the business case and the business model. And we quite soon will also start talking about following on planning. So how the teams can follow on their work after the mission and what kind of options there are around. Here, and those who are joining our status reports have seen these slides already, a little bit touch basing on what Jule said. We will have clear focus on topics and sprints each week. As mentioning, we're synthesizing the feedback of the teams. They start looking into their MVP. There will be additional user testing and looking at the user at the end, business case, and then prototype 2.0, and our final pitch then 11th of May. So, my last slide. A big thank you to everyone listening in, joining these more than 3.5 hours, being with us, being so supportive, giving feedback, being so engaged. That always makes us and me very happy and really enjoyable also working in that environment. In 2 days we have Easter break, at least the Friday and the Monday, so I hope that everybody can take some time off and hopefully enjoy the great weather. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all back in then after the Easter break. Enjoy the day and thank you again. Happy Easter.